All right, I call this Board of Health meeting to order at 5:32. With this meeting being duly posted and a quorum present, I call this meeting of the Dudley Board of Health to order, 5:32, of January 23rd, 2024. This meeting is being recorded for future broadcasts on the Town of Dudley YouTube page. Anyone wishing to speak must be recognized by the chair prior to speaking by raising your hand. Please do not interrupt the meeting by speaking from the audience without being recognized by the chair. You must come to the podium to speak. Please state your name and address before speaking. If everyone could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You, please be seated. All right. Do we?
No.
Am I going in order, Pat?
I don't have an agenda.
I have an agenda here. Did they all have an agenda?
Mine is in,
Oh, I didn't give them agendas.
Perfect, should have had one. Is it, oh wait, there it is, I'm sorry. Yeah, you don't have one? It's right here.
oh, okay.
So-
All right.
Yeah, sorry, all right. So I'd like to make a motion to take the agenda out of order.
Okay. Have a motion and a second?
Second
Okay. All right, approved.
No, vote.
Need a vote.
Oh, I need a vote, sorry. I need,
All in favor?
all in favor? Sorry, I'm a little nervous today.
Aye.
Aye, all right. Thank you. All approved. All right. All right, so what are we gonna start with?
Let's go down, we don't need that, they're not here. The 11 New Boston Road. Okay. That after, all right. Old business.
You wanna go to food service?
Yep. Yes.
All right, so we're gonna start with these food service inspections. So I believe we'll,
Yeah, if you want to
You
run through
start.
from the top. So, I've been doing as many inspections as I can in between.
Excuse me, Madam Chair, could we just introduce?
Oh, yeah.
that would be helpful. So this is our new health agent, Pat Hannon. Yes, correct.
Correct.
This is Heather. You haven't met Heather, Jen, myself, and Amanda. Welcome.
I'm glad to be
You want to tell
here.
us a little bit about yourself? You certainly can.
So, I myself was in the restaurant business for quite a bit, had 7 restaurants of my own, only made money at one. I was a big dig contractor from the late 90s until about 2012. I employed 300 people, had an engineering company, had a construction company, did all of those things. Did some restaurant things after I retired. I sold some of my businesses to Waste Management and some other companies. And then decided that I wanted to be a health agent. Went to work for the town of Acushnet for 4.5 years, doing health inspections and restaurant inspections and witnessing Title V inspections and soil evaluations. And I was driving 90 minutes a day each way to go to work. I live 20 minutes down the road and would have given anything to not drive 110 miles a day. Thankful to be here, nice and close, and it gives an opportunity to give the attention to these inspections that they need. Thank you.
All right. I did that one already. So we'll start, 11 New Boston Road is not here. So we'll move down to food service. What are we gonna start with, Tri-Valley?
So Tri-Valley was a recent inspection. As you know, they do Meals on Wheels and deliveries for the elderly. And I went there probably 30 minutes after they had just finished preparing all of their meals. And it was spotless. You could operate on someone, and if it was very impressive, very impressive. So your elderly population is getting very safe meals, and she does a really good job there. The next one was Nichols College. We were having trouble connecting through the software, and one food service manager indicated in the software. I went to Nichols to meet with them. It turned out that they have quite the operation there, and they had at least a half a dozen food service managers and at least a half a dozen allergen and a half a dozen choking people. It's just that corporate was answering on the online permitting and just submitting one document. And I couldn't see how they could have one food service manager for all of those areas. So they got delayed in getting their permit, but that's all set. Bison Den was a really good surprise. Although it's a small operation, it is a Nichols College operation, but they have an outside operator there. She's very knowledgeable, she's doing a good job. After my inspection that I did, I actually sat down and had lunch. And I have my receipt. But it's a restaurant that, after I inspected it, I would eat in it. So kudos to them. Ice Cream Farm was another one that I did. They don't have a big operation there, but I was surprised to see that in their sandwich and soup operation, that they're the only ones in town so far that I've inspected that are actually keeping temperature logs for their soup. And that's been an issue on some inspections, but they're doing everything that they should do. I did give them permission to install a small electric stove. They don't need a hood for it, so that he can prepare his own soups on site and not have to buy bagged soup, and maybe make a better product and do a little bit of business. After that was Cumberland Farms. I had to stop Cumberland Farms from selling hot food and ready-to-eat items that were being opened and put in a case. The store was dirty, the store was unorganized. When I went in and asked to see the person in charge, there were 4 people there and no one wanted to admit that anyone was in charge. So that was the beginning of the problem. I made them throw away all the food that was on their hot dog roller and all the food in the case. I gave them an order to have corporate come to our next meeting. And my experience in these corporate operations is their stores are understaffed. They don't give the payroll to have enough employees there to actually do this work. And by requiring someone from corporate to come to the meeting, we would get much faster attention because this is the last place they want to be. 2 days later, they had an entire team in there. I had an experience with Cumberland Farms in the prior town, and that person just happened to be there. And I let them know that it was me that was here in Dudley now, and it wasn't going to take 4 months to fix what it took them in the prior town. They did a great job. The place is spotless. They've agreed to train all of their employees to be food service managers and allergen aware. I have done 2 walkthroughs since they cleaned up their acts, and everything's on par. I also started with their litter issue outside too. They had a lot of litter. So that's been rectified, and they're on track. Subway, I had a complaint, and I went to Subway probably 6:30, 7 o'clock on a Friday night. And there was a girl working there by herself, and she was doing a very good job making subs. I waited for the customers to leave. I didn't want to identify myself with a bunch of people in line waiting to buy sandwiches. And when I got behind the counter, I asked her if she could take the temperatures of the hot holding stuff there, the soups and the meatballs, and she said she didn't do that and didn't know how to do it. So then I asked her about the cold cuts in the case, and she said she didn't do that and didn't know how to do that. When I took the temperature of some of the deli meat, some of it was 54 degrees. So 41 and down is where it needs to be. So I went the next day and met the owner and wrote him an order that there had to be a food service manager on site every shift. And that he had to work on his case, either put less meat in the case and not stack it as high, or come up with a plan. I've been back twice, and he's not going by the order. She's been there alone again 2 more times. So I will be going back there. And he was also ordered to provide time and temperature logs for his hot holding material. We'll see if he's done that. Then we had Dudley Pizza House. I have never had to close a restaurant doing inspections, and I had to close Dudley Pizza. Broken equipment, food, bad temperatures, bags of spinach being left out of the refrigerator, not being washed and being used for things. There were no thermostats, no thermometers, no filters in the hood, just way out of compliance. Everything's been fixed, it's been re-inspected, it's as clean as a whistle. He actually thanked me for just to make sure that he stays on track. And then I went to Firebrands, and Firebrands' hood was out of compliance. The filters were dirty, the ceilings were dirty, the walls were dirty. I wrote them an order to clean it. I wrote them an order to come to our meeting that was canceled because of the snowstorm. I actually met with the owner after that, and we sat down with Amanda, and I gave it to him very straight, that it just couldn't be tolerated. And that had we had the meeting, that I might have recommended that restaurant be closed until it was in compliance. They've done a very good job. Since hearing that, he stepped up, he hired a contractor, they steam cleaned the hoods, they steam cleaned the walls, they cleaned all the light fixtures. I did an inspection there with him yesterday. He has a few things to clean up. I am doing another inspection there to see if what we discussed yesterday gets cleaned up. I'm not gonna say when I'm going there, but I'm going there soon. And if he hasn't done it, then he's gonna be getting another order, and he was coming to our February. And then we had Yummy Restaurant. Yummy Restaurant has had a bad compliance history, and looking at the reports on record here. And the violations I found were the same violations that have been found the last 3 times. And I think the biggest problem at Yummy is identifying what they're storing in the cooler and putting dates on it. There was probably a couple of 100 pounds of chicken and pork sitting on the floor of the cooler in buckets with sheet pans on top of them. No dates, no nothing. They had their mop sink full of straws and napkins. They're dumping the glasses from the bar in the mop sink in the kitchen. And you can't wash the floor with the mop sink on top of 100 straws and limes and things. So from there, it went to the line. The line was dirty. All under the fryolators and things were dirty. So they were given an order, pretty extensive order, and they were closed. I put a sign on the door. I told them not to cover the sign or take it down. Sometime after I left, they covered the sign and said that the store was closed for renovations. So I went back and took it down and told them to come back to this meeting tonight. I went there today and did a re-inspection. They still have 5 critical violations that are repeat violations from the order that I wrote. I closed them. Their manager was there. I talked to the manager and the 2 owners, and I explained to them that they need to take this serious. And that everything has to be dated, everything has to be identified. I didn't believe the dates on the food that was in the refrigerators, so I asked to see the invoices, and the invoices do not match up well with the dates that were on the containers. They need to throw all that food away. It's from the prior inspection. There haven't been any deliveries since they were closed down. Some of their rice cookers, the no-stick coatings coming off into the food. Their dishwasher needs a major cleaning. There was no hot water in the ladies' room until you ran the faucet for a few minutes. I don't think anyone's gonna stand there for 2 minutes waiting to get hot water out of the faucet. And the disinfecting temperature coming out of the dishwasher was only 70 degrees. So that's not functioning. I think you folks all have a copy of that inspection report. Do they have if you look at the third page of that, you'll see the order that I wrote. And I've asked for a written plan of how they won't get back into non-compliance on dates and identifying the foods. I've asked for a written plan on how they're going to handle the glasses and straws and things coming from the bar. They don't have a dump sink behind their bar, but there is no place to put one. So somebody approved that a while ago without it. I'll check the heating system. Heating system's dirty. There's dust bunnies coming up out of the vents in the floors, and there's straws and things down inside the vents. So that's all in the order. I told them to bring the best information they could bring tonight and see what they could do with the board, but they've still got a ways to go. I just don't think they're taking the dating their food seriously, and it's probably the most serious violation that you can have. As clean as Subway was, you know, and as organized as they were, the dating is what's making the difference. And there were complaints for Subway that people got sick, but they couldn't confirm the symptoms to match up with a foodborne illness, and they waited 2 days to report it. So there was nowhere to go with that other than just to go down and check things out. So, then, you want to move on to the retail?
Sure. Then we'll come back and.
Yep. So when I was waiting to onboard, it took me 3 weeks to onboard because the company does the physical. Computers crashed the first week. We had the major rainstorm the third week, and they had no electricity. The second week and the third week, I made it. But I had watched some of your meetings, and there were some discussions about litter in town and other comments. So coming through town, I noticed when you crossed the Dudley line, just how much litter there was. So I stopped at Dollar General, and I spoke with the manager there, and she didn't want to put a barrel out front because people put the trash from their cars in it, and they have to empty it. But that's the cost of doing business. I gave her an order to clean the parking lot, to clean up the dumpster area and some others. I did see her out there at 7:30 in the morning before they opened, cleaning up. The next day, it was just as dirty again, but they hadn't fixed the dumpsters. So I went in and met with her. And in that case, it's another case of not enough payroll and not enough people to do the work. So I wrote an order for Dollar General Corporate to provide us with a written plan to control litter, to fix the dumpsters, to clean up their back room. I did an inspection of the store. All of their coolers are nice and clean. All their dates were very good. The manager's very cooperative. They just don't have enough payroll to staff the store properly. So I'm waiting to hear from corporate, and they haven't responded in a timely manner, and we'll probably be following up for that on our next meeting. Imperial Park and Shop. The dumpsters out back, there was trash everywhere. I went in and I spoke with the assistant manager on duty. He told me to clean it up. I went back on a Saturday morning. There was lettuce and spinach and broccoli and all kinds of stuff on the ground outside the dumpster. I took pictures. I wrote them an order to have corporate provide a written plan to maintain the dumpster area and make sure that they're closed at night and that all the garbage and refuse is off the ground. The manager was a little irate, and he wanted to see the pictures. I showed him the pictures, and I told him this is something for corporate to address, because he himself said they don't have the payroll, they don't have the people. He was having to do it. Family Dollar. Family Dollar had problems getting us the right paperwork. People seem to just pick a piece of paper and upload it and send it in and think they did it. They were trying to open for the weekend. I had been in there on Friday afternoon. All of their help was there waiting for the store to open, but they were missing some documentation. I met with the district manager. I got him to send me the documentation on a Saturday. I went there on a Saturday, and I gave them 14 temporary to open so that the people who live in Dudley could go to work, because they weren't going to get to work they have since been inspected and everything's fine there. Then, Quick Stop. Not very good. And I don't know, but I think that there's an illegal apartment. I asked what was behind the door, and the person working said he didn't know. So that made me open the door, and it's an apartment. I spoke to the building commissioner. It would be an illegal apartment. You can't have an apartment in an establishment that sells liquor. The cooler was dirty, the floors were dirty. I wrote them an order to clean all the things. There's a lot of things running on extension cords. And they're getting a follow-up inspection. They were given an order also. They got 72 hours to do everything. So we'll see if they did that. And then, that's it for retail food inspections.
Walgreens?
Oh, Walgreens, I haven't, I intended to go there before
Oh,
the
okay, it was
meeting.
just on the list.
So they're not licensed. They did not apply, have not applied, have not paid. But I understand that that's not uncommon lately with your major retailers in town. And I think everyone's become accustomed to not having a full-time health agent. And things got very loose in the town of Dudley. They really have. It's been kind of shocking as I go around. And these people are all professional people in a professional business. They've all taken an exam. The exam's not an instructional exam, but it's a you-know-better exam. It touches on all the hot points of what you need to do. And it's so that when you do get inspected, you can say, you took the exam, you know better. You know your temperatures, you know you need to mark your foods, you know you do these things, so you have to do them. And after I do inspections, I've been going out on Saturdays and Sundays and going in, and they're ignoring, because they don't expect to see the food inspector show in at 11:30 on a Sunday morning. And it's been very effective. So, I do expect to get to Walgreens.
Okay.
And I think we have like 7 others. So Amanda made me a list of who we've touched, who we haven't touched, who's replied, who hasn't applied. And we have 7, I think, believe that, need immediate attention. And I've been pulled away from that immediate attention on a couple of other issues that we'll probably get to, so. That's it, unless you wanna,
That's over here.
if you wanna go
On to
back to
new
new
business?
business.
All right. So you want to go back to the beginning
Sure.
and do the minutes? Or do you just want to go to the new business before you have to go?
So, let's see. Do you want to go to new business?
Yeah, we'll do the new business.
Okay.
You want me to skip over the septic for now, and we'll come back to that after, since
Yeah,
they're not here?
they're not here, yeah.
Okay. So,
Yeah. The meeting, so we have a 2024 meeting schedule. I think you should have a copy there too. Those dates all look okay? Did you find yours? She wrote her notes on them.
I make a motion to approve the 2024 meeting schedule.
I second the motion.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Passes. All right, and then, so now we have our 2025 budget request. What does that look like? Right here. Could the font be any smaller?
You're just getting over.
I really cannot read that. I'm very sorry. I know, I see, am I going through each bullet?
No, Madam Chair, may I ask a question?
Go ahead.
too? Patrick, have you gone over this? And
I did.
You gave your input to Amanda?
It's fine. Yep.
I'll make a motion to accept the 2025 budget.
All right, and the motion, the second passes
Madam Chair,
You need to
could,
vote. You had a motion and a second, now you need to vote.
All in favor, sorry,
aye.
it passes. All right.
Madam Chair, could we just touch upon the regulations before Heather has to leave?
Oh, for the Body Works?
Yes.
Get you out of here, Heather.
Just so you have homework.
I just saw it. Put it right here. All right.
So while I was waiting to onboard, I had watched some of your meetings. They were pretty short because you didn't have an agent. But I did pick up on the fact that you were trying to pass a Body Works reflexology regulation. And you expressed interest in the Framingham regulation. So I took the liberty of taking that, turning it into a Word document and changing it to fit the town of Dudley. And I also did the application and all the other accompanying documents. So if you folks want to look at it and then decide whether you want to continue with it, I will distribute that to the currently operating reflexology businesses in town. And we put on our next agenda for a discussion and approval.
Okay. That is a lot to look over. Thank you.
Yep. It does require existing businesses to apply for a license, but I believe it gives them 6 months or 4 months or
Yeah, it
9.
gives them the
It gives them a reasonable amount of time to apply for a license. But we are allowed to do that. You're not grandfathered under these regulations. And you do have a few in town.
We do?
Yep.
I thought we had one.
One
but-
has left, and I'm not,
The one next to the
they're supposed to be
coffee-
moving out.
Okay, well, that's still there.
Yeah, but according to the landlord, they're no longer, so I'll get you more information on that one.
Yep. And when I did the inspection at Dudley Pizza House, when I first got hired, I drove behind all of the establishments. You can tell a lot by what people put outside their back doors. And there's a door on the back side of the building that abuts the bank that has a reflexology sign on it. So I don't know if it's active or what the deal is, but there is a sign saying there's a reflexology business there.
All right, so we'll look these over and we'll put it on our February agenda to do more discussion.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on.
Thank you, I just figured
Thank
before
you.
she had to.
Yeah. All right, so the last item under the new business is Whiskey Rocks.
Yes. So, while I was waiting to onboard, I saw some other information regarding the conversion of Whiskey Rocks and moving their other business from Webster into that space, and that the town was lacking information. I didn't want to come in and inherit a situation where they were blindsided, that they needed a permit or whatever. So on December 30th, I believe Amanda sent a letter to them. You folks should have a copy of that letter. And it was explaining all of the reasons under the food code, why they did need to apply and why they did need to supply information to get permitted for the renovation of that building. It's only 2 pages. It's in here. It's in the package. So then if you look at the long paper, I printed up the history of the contact through the permitting system. You haven't, I did this while you went home. And just how much information has gone back and forth on this application since January 16th. And had Whiskey Rocks applied for their 24 license, Amanda, or it hadn't been applied for at that point, in the beginning?
In the beginning, it hadn't been applied for.
Or everybody was sent a notification in October to apply in November or October?
By December 20th,
But the notice was sent out
in October.
in October, so 2 months earlier. And we have a number of places that haven't. Gone by that. This is a lot of that going on. So if you look at the activity here, Amanda and myself have spent a lot of time responding to these applications. And the first application that came in had incorrect information in it, had expired insurance certificates for actually Stave and Still, not even for Whiskey Rocks. Looking at the paperwork that's been passed around the town, this is a Whiskey Rocks only operation. It's not Whiskey Rocks doing business as Stave and Still. If they want to put a Stave and Still sign inside their space, they're welcome to do that. But as I understand it, from the liquor license side of view, it's a Whiskey Rocks only liquor license, Whiskey Rocks only credit card machine, Whiskey Rocks employees, all of that. Whiskey Rocks just has another space next door serving a different menu. They have corrected the expired insurance certificates, those have come in. But the application that just came in that was corrected has a lot of issues with it. And you folks have a copy of the application where I wrote comments next to it. And I spent most of the day today. It's a thick piece, Roberta.
Looks like this.
Oh.
So, it's got all the dates on it. It started on the 17th of January. And we asked them to remove the Stave and Still DBA. They did. You'll see it's crossed out on page 2, near the bottom. And if you go to page 4, you'll see their hours of operation. And they're only open Wednesday, Thursday, 5 to 10, and Friday, Saturday, 5 to 11. So the operation's only open 4 days a week. And it says the total square feet of the facility is 7,500 square feet. So that's the entire facility. That includes, they've put a dividing wall down the center of the bar for their Stave and Still menu, and then the Whiskey Rock side. So the 7,500 square feet that they identify is the entire facility. That's both sides. I'm confused by the maximum number of employees per shift. It says 6. This application's for the entire facility. Maximum number of employees working on a cook line is 3. And the maximum number of employees working in food prep is 4. And that added up to 13 for me, but maybe the food prep people come in the morning and leave. I don't know, but the numbers don't jive on what's going on there. The seating was reduced from 320 to 240. That's for both sides. Speaking to Nelson, the building commissioner, he's waiting for floor loading from the architect to find out what effect that had on, the petition had on the floor loading for each side. Speaking to Nelson yesterday, those numbers are not forthcoming at this point, and he wants to verify that with the architect. If you go to page 5, it says that the establishment won't serve any highly susceptible populations. There's quite a range of people that make up the highly susceptible population. I question that a little bit. It asks how many dinners they're going to serve. They say they estimate 150. I don't know if that's for both sides or if that's for one side, but maybe that's the entire facility. In here, the permit application asks for any special processing. They indicated yes. And if yes, say what the special process is, and they're going to cook foods and then chill foods. So they're gonna cook them and then hold them cold, and then heat them to serve them. They're not doing any curing, fermenting, no shellfish tanks, no sous vide, they're not sprouting any seeds. Originally, the Stave and Still menu had raw oysters on it. I sent a comment back asking for the HACCP plan, if you have to have a HACCP plan if you're gonna sell raw shellfish or undercooked food. They originally indicated they were gonna draft it, but then they decided they would just take the raw oysters off the menu, so that's fine. If you go down to the page on page 6, the projected frequencies of deliveries for dry products is 2 times a week. Projected frequencies of deliveries for refrigerated projects per week was 2 times a week. We had a meeting with them here, was it Thursday or Friday? Because it's
Thursday.
on Thursday. And Thursday?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the days are blended, sorry.
And at that meeting, I asked about that, because when I did an inspection there prior to New Year's, and the only steaks in the house were frozen. So I asked if they were getting frozen meat or fresh meat, and they said they get fresh meat. So I kind of quizzed the frozen thing. And one of the owners said that he gets fresh beef delivered every day. But in their application, they say it only comes 2 times a week. So we're gonna need some clarification on that. Storage space, I haven't done an inspection of any of those things. That'll be the pre-operational inspection. If you go to page 7 of the application, it asks you to list all of the foods you're gonna hot hold. So you're gonna hold them in the steam table for service. And they've indicated that they're gonna hold all their cheese sauces, red sauce, cordon bleu sauce, Parmesan corn, sweet and smoky corn, burgundy mushrooms, braised short ribs, confit, duck, and mashed potatoes. So that would be 9 items going in a steam table. There is no steam table on their plan. They provided a stamp plan dated December 20th or 23rd of 2023, showing the equipment and floor plans for the entire facility. It doesn't show any steam wells or steam units in the kitchen, so I have to see that in the pre-operational inspection. List all the foods that will be held cold prior to service, and again, all proteins, fish, steak, meatballs, chicken, cordon bleu, fresh produce, Parmesan cheese, gorgonzola cheese, crumbles, and cream. There is a plan of refrigeration. I'd like to know what refrigeration they're being held in, because not much of the refrigeration is that close to the line. Most cooking lines have like a sandwich unit with a bunch of pans in it, and things are ready to go, and there's an overstock underneath, and you pick it up there. There's nothing wrong with using it from the refrigeration, but I don't know where that is. Will raw meats, poultry, and seafood be stored in the same refrigerators with cooked, ready-to-eat foods? Yes. So it says, describe how cross-contamination will be prevented between raw and cooked, ready-to-eat foods. It says see attached item 1, but I can't find an attached item 1. Their previous answer was all raw meats and seafood will be placed on the bottom shelf of the refrigerated coolers. That's an improper storage method, and at our meeting on Thursday, we asked them to change that, and that was why I stopped processing their application at that time. Then, number of refrigerator units. They say they have 6. The plan provided by the registered architect says 3. So there's a conflict there. Number of freezer units, 1. No conflict there. Does the establishment currently have a working walk-in refrigerator? They say yes, but there's no walk-in refrigerator on the plan. So there's a conflict with that. List all the foods that will be cooked and cooled prior to service. So chicken cordon bleu will be cooked and then cooled and held for service. They're gonna reheat it to serve it, is what this says. So it was chicken cordon bleu, meatballs, braised short ribs, mashed potatoes, and all sauces. And I asked how they're gonna be reheated and to what temperature. They'll be getting that comment back from the OpenGov system. That's the list of foods. All items that were not served during that day's service and will be used for future service are gonna be cooled and saved and served again, heated and served again the next day. I'd like to know how many times they will be cooled and reheated for service. Indicate below the cooling method used for the type of TCS food to be cooled to 41 degrees within 6 hours and to 70 degrees within 2 hours, and the location of the cooling. They say in shallow containers. There's nowhere indicated on the plan that that's where they'll be holding items for cooling. It's a minor thing, but it's important that shows up. And then I'd be asking that there's a time and temperature log for anything that they're gonna cool, anything they're gonna hold hot, as is required by the food code. And then it says, all items that will be hot held during service in the steam wells, and there are no steam wells on the plan, so that location's missing. So that needs to be addressed. Later on in the application on page 8. They say that they're going to cool things from the steam table by stirring, venting, and cooling on the countertop, and using an ice bath. So that conflicts with the information that was provided on the previous page. List all foods that will be cooked, cooled, and reheated prior to service. Cheese sauces, corn, braised ribs, burgundy mushrooms, mashed potatoes, confit duck. And my ask is, how many times? They will have thermometers. They will use thermometers as indicated on their application. Cooking device for the type of foods. And steam well is crossed out. This is for the reheating process. And it says, all items on well, mashed potatoes, braised short ribs, cheese sauces, burgundy mushrooms, corn, and confit duck will either be reheated in a microwave or saute pans, depending on the item. So I've asked them to describe each item and tell us which ones will be microwave for reheating. There is a specific requirement in the 2013 food code to reheat and to cook things with a microwave. It's a little more complicated than just doing it on a cooktop in a pan. Then it asks you how you're gonna handle your frozen foods. My question is, are they gonna slack them in the refrigerator? Are they gonna run them under water that's less than 70 degrees? You know, if they're gonna do all of them, they need to indicate all of them.
What does-
And where it says running water less than 70, they didn't reply. And they didn't reply for the thick frozen foods. And cooked from frozen state, maybe they're cooking nothing from frozen.
What is, thought by slacking mean?
So slacking is taking something out of the freezer and putting it in the refrigerator. Refrigeration that's below 41 degrees. And usually overnight that will thaw out. And some of the fish companies have come up with this term on slacking that they call it refresh. So they take frozen fish, they slack it in a refrigerator, and they say it's refreshed, and they don't call it previously frozen. Just another way to, and I'm not saying they're doing that, I'm saying fish distributors are promoting that. Then we got down to the microwave part of the cooking process, nothing listed. I wanna know what they're gonna cook by microwave. I understand that David still didn't have gas, and everything in that kitchen was electric, and that they used a lot of microwaves there. Or they used a microwave there. Then, ready-to-eat foods. Pretzels come frozen, they're thawed in the microwave, and then warmed in the oven. That's not a ready-to-eat food. A ready-to-eat food is a food that's in a package, and you hand it to the customer, and they open the package and they eat it. That's a ready-to-eat food. There's nothing wrong with thawing it out in the microwave and warming it in the oven. They've just got that in the wrong place. Meat. All come fresh, are refrigerated, and then cooked to order. If not used within the 4 days of service, they will be wrapped, labeled, dated, and frozen for future use. How long? So, if a steak comes in fresh, it has 7 days on it. So, if they're open for 4 days and they don't sell those steaks, and that includes the day of delivery. So you're down either 4 or 5 days, and then you freeze it, and then you thaw it out. How many more days do you have on that steak? Do you have another 7 days? Or do you just have 2 days? And I'm asking for them to, I'll be asking for them to answer that question. They need to know these answers as part of being food service managers. Seafood. All come fresh, are refrigerated, and then are cooked to order. I've never been able to buy fresh shrimp. I would have to say that the shrimp that are coming in are fresh, are frozen, and they're either thawed in water, which is the common way to do it. They thaw out pretty quickly, so that just needs to be clarified on the application. And there's an arrow that says same response as above. They don't have a, if you go to page 10, they don't have a basement. And then we get to the warewashing machine, and this is a mechanical, and will a dish machine be used? It says yes, make and model, Noble Warewashing, HT, whatever, high temperature dishwasher, 280 volt, 3-phase. So we only have a plan size that fits our open gov, and I expanded the picture of their plan, and I printed this out for you folks. If you go to the top, and you'll have to hold it in the landscape to read it. In the top left, I'm sorry, not in the top left, the dishwasher. The dishwasher,
Like, no, it doesn't matter which way I hold it.
yeah, the dishwasher near the bottom of the page, right-hand side, says it's 115 volt, 16 amps. So that's in conflict, and this comes from the architect's plan. This is what the architect stamped is there. And they've indicated that it's a 3-phase, 208 volt dishwasher. That needs to be verified in a pre-operational inspection as well, and their application needs to be fixed for that. And then what type of sanitizer would be used in the dish machine? So they're not going to use a sanitizer, they're gonna sanitize by hot water, which is fine. But in some machines, it needs to be 165 degrees, and in other machines, it needs to be 171 degrees. I've asked what temperature the machine operates at. I think I wrote all the questions there. When we have the pre-operational inspection, they will have to demonstrate that the dishwasher functions as required. And they're required to have a special thermometer that actually goes inside the dishwasher. It goes between 2 plates in the rack. You run the dishwasher through a complete cycle, and the thermometer holds the highest temperature. And it needs to be what it is for using hot water to sanitize. Hot water will be the final rinse and pressurized. There needs to be a pressure gauge that tells you it's the right pressure, and we need to know it's the right temperature. They say it has a pressure gauge, we need to verify it. Will the machine be automatically dispense detergents and sanitizers? According to this, they answered yes, but it's only gonna dispense detergent if the hot water is accurate with that they're gonna sanitize with. So there's some conflict there. What type of device will be installed in the warewashing machine to verify that detergents and sanitizers are delivered or not delivered? And it's a visual. And the visual is when you run the machine, the lines would be clear, and you would actually see the liquid flow through. And when you run the machine, there's a little thing that spins while it's washing, there's a little thing that spins while it's adding detergent, and there's a little thing that spins while the sanitizer's going in. That'll have to be looked at on the pre-inspection. What is the waste pipe connection? And it says it's a direct, so that's direct pipe to the floor drain. I've confirmed this with the plumbing inspector, I've confirmed it with the food code. This requires an air gap drain, because sewer gas could come back up out of the drains and get into the dishwasher or other contamination. They say it's direct, maybe it's a mistake, it just needs to be verified in the pre-operation inspection. They also say that they'll be using a 3-compartment sink. There is a 3-compartment sink in the architect's plan. I haven't verified that it's there, but there is a 3-bay sink in the architect's plan, up on the cooking line, just to the left there. They gave the dimensions and depth and all of that. If you go to page 11, will sanitizer be used? And they put down quaternary sanitizer. I'm assuming that's for the 3-bay sink. So I would like them to, on the pre-operating inspection, tell me what temperature the sanitizer water needs to be in the sink. There's a specific temperature that needs to be maintained, and there needs to be a dedicated thermometer just for the 3-bay sink. It can't be used anywhere else in the operation. They have a bar, yes. Will a 3-compartment sink be installed at the bar? Actually, maybe I'm confused. Is the 3-bay sink in the bar?
There are 2 3-bay sinks in the bar.
Okay, so there's a 3-bay sink.
I'm sorry, 3. There are 3-bay sinks in the bar.
So there's a 3-bay sink in the kitchen on the plan, there's a 3-bay sink in the bar next to a hand washing sink. And that's in your picture. I only gave you the kitchen, that's not in that picture. And then it asks, will a glass machine be used? And the answer is yes, but there is no glass washing machine shown on the plan by the architect. It's not there. And at the glass, it asks for the make of the glass washing machine behind the bar, and it says Noble, but there's nothing on the plan, so I can't verify that. If hot water will be the final rinse, be pressurized, yes. What type of sanitizer would be used on the bar glasses? And again, that's hot water, not a chemical sanitizer. So the temperature is going to be very important here as well. Pressurized hot water, has a pressure gauge, automatically dispenses detergent. If we go to page 17, what type of device will be for the ware washing machine? And some of this seems repetitive, but some of it has different answers. So I just had to go with it as it was. And again, what is the waste pipe connection? Indirect air gap was the first answer. When this was corrected, it now says direct. It needs to be an air gap. And I've confirmed that again with the plumbing inspector and the food code. So we need to see that. And then on cleaning and sanitizing, they say they're using a quaternary sanitizer, even though for ware washing they say they're using temperature. And the quaternary sanitizer is a tablet. You wouldn't be able to stop the washing cycle and put a tablet in for the sanitizing sequence. It needs to be the preload, liquid sanitizer, liquid detergents, and they all load automatically. You can't stop and throw tablets in. Type of water heater, it says a tankless hot water heater. The plan stamped by the registered engineer does not show any on-demand Rinnai hot water heaters. If you look in the top left-hand corner of the plan stamped by the architect and supplied to us, it says water heater, 208 volts, 45 amps. It's an electric water heater, according to the plan. So that's inconsistent with the application. Again, they say it's a Rinnai, but it's not on the plan. The plumbing inspector did think that there had been some Rinnais installed. one or two, but he wasn't sure, but we'll see that on the pre-op. But they could also clear that question up when they fix their application. Storage capacity, and they say it's tankless, so there's no gallons. That's rejected because I don't know that there is a tankless. According to the plan from the architect, it's electric. Will an ice machine be installed? Yes. If yes, where will it be located? In the kitchen. According to the stamp plan from the architect, the plan shows 5 ice machines, not 1 ice machine. And there's 2 ice machines behind the bar. There's 3 in the kitchen and 2 behind the bar, and they're not shown on his plan. And again, for the ice machines, indirect air gap is crossed out. It's written direct. Confirmed it with the inspector. It needs to be an air gap, and maybe it is. Sewage disposal. Where will the grease trap interceptor be located? It's in the kitchen. How often will the grease trap be cleaned? It's on a 6-month cycle. They say that they have a contract with Slims. Slims and, I'm not gonna butcher the last name, but you know who it is. Refuse and recyclables, nothing stored inside. Describing how where garbage cans and floor mats will be cleaned. Outside with a hose. You can't wash your dirty rubbish barrels out onto the ground, and you can't wash your dirty floor mats out onto the ground. There needs to be a way to capture that contaminated water. So that's the wrong answer. That needs to be addressed in the application. Will the dumpster be used? Yes. They have a dumpster there. It is a very clean area. They're probably the only ones that didn't need to be told that they had a litter problem. One dumpster, there's an error in the size. It says 200 yard. A transfer trailer for a rubber station is 100 yards. It probably is supposed to say 2 yards. And I would just ask that that gets corrected as well. They have a contract with Waste Management for that. It's emptied weekly. And then on page 14, it name of company used for refuse pickup, Waste Management, and then it says, how will grease be disposed? And it says grease outside, and there are companies that provide containers, and they render this material, they turn it into biofuel. They actually pay the restaurants for it. They may not pay them much, but they pay them something for it. And it says here, all waste disposal companies must be licensed with the Town of Dudley Health Department. They indicated in here that the company used for grease pickup is Wind River, and Wind River is not licensed by the Town of Dudley to do business. We verified that today. They answered the questions for returned goods and things like that. There was no problem with that. Pest control. Describe the method of pest control for the establishment, including frequency. They listed Pest Be Dead. I called Pest Be Dead today, and their contract has been canceled. They do not have a pest control contract. No requirement for the screens and things. They're gonna store their helps things under the bar and in a storage cabinet. I would tell you that it has to be a storage cabinet. It just can't be under the bar. You can't have personal items just on a shelf under the bar mixed in with things. Cleaning facilities, mop and utility sink is installed. It is on the plan. Describe the location where mops and other cleaning equipment will be stored, kitchen and on all separate shelving. The mop needs to be hung up. So I need to see something when I go in the pre-operational inspection. It should be right by the mop sink, that there's some holders that you can hang the mop up to dry. It can't be left leaning against the wall. It needs to be hanging up so it can dry. Describe where the cleaning and sanitizing solutions would be, separate shelving near the mop sink. Identify the location of the chemical storage, separate shelving by the mop sink, that's fine. As far as linens, they're taking the linens off-site and having them cleaned bi-weekly. Do they have a written procedure to follow responding to vomiting or diarrheal events? They have a document in there, but on the pre-operational inspection, I will be asking them how they do that. Not just a plan that we sign something that we have a plan. It's important that not just they know that, but everybody that works there knows that. You could get pretty sick if you don't, as you know. The plumbing schedule. And it lists a bar glass machine. There's no bar glass machine on the plan, so that needs to be clarified. The floor drain, air gap required, and I'm on page 14 now. And then it talks about ice bins, and it says they have hub drains. There are no ice bins on the plan. I suspect that maybe the ice machines that are shown by the architect behind the bar may be ice bins. It's not uncommon to have ice bins at the bar, a service bin, for getting ice for your drink. It would be kind of uncommon to have an ice machine back there that you have to open it up and take ice, and it would have to be an ice bin to put it in. So having 3 ice machines in the kitchen tells me there's enough ice being made that these are probably ice bins, but that's not what's on the plan, so it needs to be corrected on the application. And then the manual warewashing sink, direct waste, that is okay as a direct waste. The mechanical warewashing machine says it's a hub drain. The inspector said that may be, but he described the hub drain to me, and we'll be looking at that on the pre-inspection. Steam tables, how are the steam tables drained? Are they wet? Are they dry? Some steam tables are dry, you don't put water in them, and others have, this much water in the bottom, and it keeps your stuff. So if they're wet, I'd like to know how they drain and where they're drained. And then if you go to page 17, I had no comments on that. I had no comments on 18. I had no comments on 19. And on page 20, I just highlighted something on the certification view on the second paragraph where it says, a pre-opening, pre-operational inspection of the establishment with equipment in place operational will be required to determine if it complies with the local and state laws governing food service establishments. And that's absolutely gonna have to be done. When we talked to them on Thursday, I had suggested that I would go in and do an inspection with them ready for service. But after seeing all the conflicts in the permit application and what the architect has stamped a plan and said is there, we need the pre-operational inspection. So, that's what I have. And I am asking that all of the work be completed in the facility. I haven't been in. I've seen it from driving by. I see that the sheetrock is up on the Whiskey Rock side, but the sheetrock is not up on the walls on the Stave and Still side. And because the wall is only a partition and doesn't go all the way to the top, if they're working in Stave and Still side, they're plastering, they're cutting sheetrock, there's gonna be dust, there's gonna be contamination from that. This is one permit, one inspection. It needs to all be completed. And I've communicated that a few times by text when I was getting phone calls asking, when can you come by and sign off? And I responded that I'm a new health agent here, and I don't have the authority to bypass requirements and let them open, and that they would need to come before the board, and the board could be the ones that decide whether we bypass requirements and make exceptions and do all of those things. But my advice is that this project is completed. Their contractor withdrew from the project on Friday, asked that his building permit be removed from the building, said that there was work being done beyond the scope of the permit, and that he didn't want to be any part of it. So there's some moving parts to this. In the plan, if you look at the plan, I didn't give you the bar plan. In the bar plan, it shows 2 4-bay sinks behind the bar. And by putting up the petition, one side of the barn no longer has a hand washing sink. Unless you're gonna go through a door and go onto the Whiskey Rock side from Stave and Still and use that hand washing sink. That's against the code. I brought this up with the applicant when I first started working here, and she indicated that she'd like to put a divider on the 4-bay sink and use one side for hand washing sink. It can't be done. Has to be separate, has to have its own plumbing, hand washing soap, towels, hand towels, whatever it's gonna be. Can't be part of a 4-bay sink. The plumber inspector says he doesn't know that any 4-bay sinks have been installed because there's been no plumbing permits pulled for the renovation. And looking at the plan, the 4-bay sinks are drawn out in a dark outline, like they're an addition to the existing plan. So, I need to do a pre-operational inspection and see if there's a hand washing sink, on the Stave and Still side, and if they did, in fact, change the 3-bay sinks to 4-bay sinks. But I think the first thing that needs to happen is the application needs to be completed and submitted properly. Their first application, they sent in expired insurance certificates for Stave and Still. They weren't even for Whiskey Rocks. The second one that they sent in was for Whiskey Rocks, but they added DBA Stave and Still. And when we met with them on Thursday, we brought that up too and said, look, this is not two separate operations. You're bringing another menu from another restaurant in. It's Whiskey Rocks. That's what this operation is. So that all has to be straightened out. We were also told that the electrical inspector had signed off on the electrical work, and when Amanda called him, he said he'd only signed off on the rough inspection, that he hadn't done a final inspection. So there's some work to be done here. Rest is up to you folks.
I did have a few questions. So, this was the permit that was filled out.
Oh.
And everything that you highlighted was what you need corrected still?
Yes.
I just want to make sure I
And I-
understood that. Okay.
And for your benefit, just so you can see how much work that Amanda and myself have gone through, these are all the revisions and contacts from the applicant since January 16. And they're here demanding that, we're gonna open up tomorrow. We need to open up, and you're not taking care of us, you're not getting this done. As I said at the beginning of the meeting, we have other people that applied for licenses prior to this, but in keeping with the letter that I wrote, trying to make their move to Dudley a smooth and successful one, it hasn't worked out. We've gone up way above to try and process this.
So all these items that you have had a question to need addressing before you can even go back and inspect?
Yes, I need to know the answers.
Before we, if you don't mind me.
No.
Before we could even issue a permit, or even begin the, yes. And just, if I may.
No, please do.
Just so that we're clear that the renovation is they're going, and correct me if I'm wrong, because they have an entryway and they're splitting the bar in half.
Yes.
So one side will be on the menu for the Stave and Still, one side would be on the Whiskey Rocks. That's why.
Down the middle?
Right down the middle of the bar. And then there's two separate doors. Once you go in the vestibule, there's a door into the Stave and Still side, and then there's a door into the Whiskey Rock side. And Nelson has a few questions on that as well, and he's waiting for the architect to get back to him, and that hasn't been happening very quickly. And they need a new occupancy permit from Nelson, and they need a final sign-off from the electrician. And if there's been plumbing done, they're gonna need to have a plumbing permit and a sign-off on that. And that's where we're at. I mean, the permit wasn't even, the fee wasn't even paid for the permit until 15th of January. And we're not supposed to even work on an application until the fee's been paid, but we did. Just to, this, I understand they've got a major investment there, this is important to them, but based on how loose things have gotten in town, and just how bad things are, this needs to go the right way and start off 100% correct.
Yeah. May I?
Yeah, why don't you come up,
Yep.
yep,
They have to identify
and just
themselves.
make sure you identify yourself. Yep.
Stand up.
Yeah.
So Jessica Valby, owner of Whiskey Rocks and Stave and Still. So I just want to kind of clarify and correct a few things. As of right now, we do have a new building permit. Construction has been finalized. We have final sign-off from the electrical inspector. We did no plumbing, so we did not have to pull a plumbing permit or get any sort of sign-off from them. And at this point, after speaking with Nelson yesterday evening, he said he is just waiting for the Board of Health side of things to be finalized, and he will sign off immediately for our certificate of occupancy. To kind of clarify a lot of the issues that have been brought to light with this, I think that there's some confusion here. So there's two applications pending. One is for the renewal of the food service permit, which has been in existence for over 2 years, so this is the renewal for 2024. And the one that Mr. Hannon reviewed was the plan review, which, if I'm understanding it correctly, is to be submitted prior to and during changes and construction of a food establishment. So the plan that the engineer submitted is from the original plan when we were doing starting construction in June of 2021. Now, as I'm sure you can imagine, as you start constructing and building and the two owners are in there walking the bar and the kitchen saying, no, we want this here, we want this there, we made changes on the fly. So rather than having the engineer completely redo his plans, he laid over the original plan for the contractor, the carpenter, to put the wall in and basically show the only changes that were made in that establishment, which was the addition of the vestibule with the 2 entryways, and then towards the back, another vestibule to basically split the restaurant in half to share common space between access to the restrooms and the bathrooms, restrooms and the kitchen. So in regards to the kitchen layout and the bar layout, nothing has been touched to the existing establishment. It is just the addition of the 2 vestibules and the partition wall.
If I may interject.
Yes.
But the plan that we have and what you're answering on the applications aren't matching.
Right, that's because,
Showing.
but-
But I'm not talking about the divider, I'm talking about things behind the bar, things in the kitchen. The steam tables are not listed on the plan in the kitchen.
I understand that.
And so that, when we're looking at a plan, and this goes for every restaurant in town, when we're looking at a plan and you're saying that there's 3 steam tables, when we don't see it on the plan, he's not gonna remember every single restaurant, everything, so he's gonna look at the plan and go, that doesn't match.
Okay, so
So if you don't, and then I'll let you
Yep,
continue, I
yep, yep.
apologize, but if you don't update us with a plan of what's correct in your restaurant, we don't know. And if we're reviewing it, we have no idea, because we're not going in the kitchen, we're strictly working off of your plan. So, that was the kitchen.
No, the one she has.
I can give you these.
That came to that went in on the building permit application, is that correct?
Yes.
That one,
Yeah.
the divider, right.
Yes.
So we do not have a copy of that on the Board of Health side.
Okay, so do you need a stamped
I don't see that.
engineered copy of the layout of the kitchen and the bar? Or is this something that I can basically walk through, or, I mean, even take photographs at this point?
So you need to have an engineered copy with the application,
so-
am I correct? I could be wrong.
Just for the record, the plan that I worked off of today from Gallant Architecture is dated December 18th, 2023.
Okay, so,
So he has stamped a plan that as of December 18th, 2023, this information is accurate that he shows. So according to him, the architect, there aren't any steam tables, there aren't those things, there's an electric water heater, they're not renized, all those things have been put there. That's all I can go by.
And that's what I'm asking is how,
I'm confused.
well,
What you're holding is when you came to Dudley and you wanted to put plans for Whiskey Rocks.
Yeah, yes.
And then you decided along the way.
To do
that
the
you were
addition.
gonna combine the two.
Correct.
And that's what's in your left hand.
Correct.
And what Jen and I are holding is just the kitchen.
I have no idea what you're, I
We have,
can't.
we have a copy, a blown-up version of the kitchen from the 12-18, did you
From
say?
the 12,
23, the 12-23.
18, 2023 stamp plan.
That we
So
received.
in your left hand, when you compared it to that, you had, if I heard you correctly, an engineer or somebody come through and they said, we'll make some changes. You made some changes on the fly to this one, which is going to be your new Whiskey Rocks / Stave and Still, which is different from that.
The,
And we don't know, that's what I think why
is
I'm
the
confused.
what's in my left hand
Yeah.
is the exact same thing as this, but
Except
with just
for-
the partition walls overlaid.
So it doesn't show steam tables, it doesn't show
It does
anything.
not.
So that is something that needs to be corrected, because we need to know what's in your restaurant, so that if we're looking at a plan, we're only gonna go by application, and when we're reviewing things, because we are reviewing things, because again, we have a new health agent, and this is what we do. We wanna be involved, we wanna, so we're gonna look at the plan and go, well, it doesn't make sense to me either.
Right.
And that was where, I understand all that entirely. How would you like me to present that to you?
It
Do
has
I-
to be
An engineered stamped plan?
correct, am I correct?
Or
It
can
has to
I
be-
mean,
Well, it needs to be an engineered stamp plan that's correct.
Correct.
If I am gonna go by the December plan of 2023, it's not correct.
Correct. Okay, that's
So,
what,
and maybe he did a takeoff off of his 21 plan.
right, not with
Didn't
changes.
realize that they didn't install the electric water heater, they installed the Renais. And he doesn't know where the steam tables were, and they weren't on his radar screen, but I can only go by what's on the stamp plan and what the application says, and the two don't match up.
I guess where my,
So I can explain to you.
no, I understand, but to have an engineer reformulate not only the kitchen but the bar and have him stamp it, where nothing structural has changed, everything in here other than,
Regardless, it's.
It's not the structure, right?
No, it's the plan of your kitchen does not match what you have and what you're saying on your application. They don't match.
I understand that.
And we need it to match. By law, it has to match. If, I'm just throwing out, I'm gonna use Nichols Bison then, just because,
Yeah.
okay? If they went and changed their kitchen floor plan, they have to submit that to us with a new kitchen floor plan. Even if it's the same floor plan, but they changed out things, like they put steam tables in, they changed their refrigeration unit, made a bigger unit, they have to send that to us because it's a change in plan. I know it's not a change in layout, but it is a change, yes.
And one thing to add to that, the plan has to be approved by the Board of Health before they do it.
So unfortunately, now we just need an updated new plan that's showing the correct water heaters
All of these things that were highlighted on
that weren't
have to,
matching.
have to match.
Okay, well, that's 90% of
Excuse me.
the issues in the plan review will be remedied if this is fixed. So if I can understand, the plan review, okay, okay. So, if I may, there are a couple things I'd like to go over. If-
May I ask you a question?
Yes.
Before you start into that? So you put the divider down the bar?
Yes.
Okay. There was, down the middle of the bar?
Mm-hmm.
So which side has the three-bay sink? It's a three-bay sink?
There are 3 sets of 3-bay sinks.
Okay. Just explain so
on-
I understand.
On the Stave and Still side,
Yep,
there is a 3-bay sink and then a 1-bay sink. It is not a 4-bay sink, and it does have separate plumbing,
okay.
okay?
That's on the Stave and Still side?
Correct.
Okay.
On the Whiskey Rocks side,
And a hand washing sink on the side.
And that one had the existing hand wash sink. On the Whiskey Rock side, facing the left-hand side of the building, there is a 3-bay sink and a 1-bay sink that has been marked and labeled as a hand wash sink.
Okay.
If you are still on the Whiskey Rock side and you're facing the back of the restaurant, there is a 3-bay sink and a 1-bay sink, also with a separate sink that has been marked hand wash sink with soap and paper towel and everything required for that. So on the Whiskey Rock side, right now, there are 2 3-bay sinks, 2 hand wash sinks. And on the Stave side, there is 1 hand wash sink, a 3-bay, and a 1-bay.
There you go, Roberta.
Thank you.
It does look like,
But if you look at the stave and still side of that drawing, you won't see separate sinks.
unfortunately, yeah, so as long
Again,
as
a
it's.
lot of this will be remedied.
Right, no, that's why I was
Right.
asking, that's all, because I wasn't understanding that. Okay,
I can only go by the plan.
right, no, and I understand, if you do look at it, it does look like 4 sinks connected, that's funny, okay.
But I asked that question when Mrs. Valby called me, and she said that they were going to put a divider on one of the 4-bay sinks and use that for a hand washing sink.
I don't believe I said 4-bay. They are a 3-bay and a 1-bay. No plumbing has been changed in that building since we opened.
But you see the plan that says 4-bay sinks.
Yeah, so, and you said that the 1 bay on the one side has separate plumbing, and the one of the 1 bays on the other side has separate plumbing? Okay, thank you, that answers my question.
Jen, if I could just interject, just to.
If only if you
Yeah.
come forward, I apologize, I'm cutting you off,
Sorry,
I'm
you
so
can,
sorry.
I so appreciate it.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Great.
Just identify yourself, please.
Craig Valby. Just all the sinks behind the bar, the 3-bay has a faucet, hot and cold water, and its own drain. The 1-bay, the same thing, hot and cold water, its own faucet, drain. All the 1-bay sinks, there's 3 of them behind the entire bar, 3 3-bays, and a hand wash. So if it's a separate 1-bay, separate from the 3-bay, with its own drain, its own hot water and cold water and faucet, that qualifies as a hand washing sink.
I just was asking.
Okay.
'cause,
Well,
We don't knock that it does, we don't believe that it doesn't, but it doesn't show that here. So,
The architect just missed.
I'm a restaurant, I'm a nurse, so I look at this and I don't know what any of this means other than what it is. Oh, they have 4 sinks in 3 spots, so I don't know either, so, you gotta,
Totally, I just thought I would help explain.
you were definitely explaining, and I think what I don't understand, and I didn't understand until Pat really explained a lot of it, and you explained a lot of it, because I didn't have this, and I have no idea, just knowing what the building itself, it looks like, what you guys are doing. Okay, I get it, you're putting this wall down, you're gonna merge the 2, this is wonderful, but there's a lot of issues that are still involved, and now it sounds like that I see this and she sees that, you can remedy a lot of these things and just get them done
I have it in the
correctly.
plan.
But I don't think that it's okay for us just to say, we're ready to move forward until it all gets done. It's only fair, right? So I think, I don't really, I had a lot of questions because I don't know the food industry and I don't know what a lot of these things mean. But I think along the way, he did explain what these meant, like what's a glass bar? I have no idea. Is it a table for glasses on it? I don't know what that means, but I'm sure it means something that's important to, I don't know what it is. Is it something that you have to have? Is it required? Is it just because it's fancier than something else? I have no idea. So like, you just have to explain some of these things to me. What air gap, no clue. But I understand I understand what these items mean. So I think, I don't really have a ton of questions. I feel like I would really like to see all of these things rectified, and then we could discuss it again, move forward.
and
I don't know.
if I could, Madam Chair, I would like to have the paperwork in our possession for the final sign-offs from the electrical inspector and the building commissioner, because there's conflicting stories there. So let's have all the paperwork on file, let's do this right.
When I spoke to Nelson last night, he said that he can't sign off on his final until this is set. So I think that is a question that we need to answer, because it is conflicting. We were told that we would not receive a final inspection until we have our sign off by Nelson.
Madam Chair, if I may. I
Yeah.
also have spoken with Nelson, and he has been relaying information to me as well as Pat, but he's been keeping me in the loop as to everything that's transpiring. And when I spoke with him, there was nothing about us holding him up at this point. So I will talk to him tomorrow to see. I will
So,
gladly.
the only point that Nelson and I talked about as far as him holding up is that he will then issue an occupancy permit until the Board of Health signed off. Not that he won't sign off on the construction.
Correct.
And whether it's done properly and all of that. But Nelson's comment to me was, there's still a long way to go. And I don't know that a building permit was issued today.
It was issued yesterday.
Okay. He signed off on the new one for the new contractor.
Okay?
So a new, just, again, I'm sorry, you guys, a new occupancy permit will be a brand-new permit issued once all of these things are corrected, as long as they're okay.
Yes, because of the petition,
Because
because
the
of the
one they
new
exist-
doorways, the seating,
Okay.
the seating and the loading of the rooms has changed.
Okay, I just want to
So,
make sure I
They
understood.
originally had, I don't know, 300 seats or something. They also advertise on their website that they have a capacity of 450 people. And that's very concerning, that you could be serving food with 450 people in there, and people bumping in and coming in contact with food and all of these other things. I also mentioned to maybe to Nelson, when you operate a site that holds more than 150 people, you need a mass gathering license. And I operate a facility that held 250 people in Hopedale, Mass. And it's a fire marshal certificate, and you have to have a mass gathering certification to operate a facility like that. And the bad part of it is you have to watch a 1-hour video on the station house fire in Rhode Island. And it's a very disturbing thing to watch, but it's very important. So we need a sign off from everybody. I did talk to the deputy chief. The deputy chief alerted me to the fact that the hood there in their kitchen. So there's 2 certifications for hood. One's for 1 year and one's for 6 months. They're on a 6-month cycle, and their 6-month cycle expired. And he wanted me to be sure that the hood was up to date before I signed off.
Yes, and.
So they'll have to.
The deputy chief came in on Friday and signed off on it. All of this has been signed off on. I don't know what the delay is in communication, but everything is completed. Sheetrock is up. There seems to be a lag.
On both sides?
On both sides,
painted.
and painted, and trimmed out, and it looks beautiful.
Well,
So every stitch of construction is done in that building. This is the last piece, and I understand that there's some questions that need to be answered. And I sat and wrote notes on everything that was questioned, and they can all very easily be answered because there shouldn't be any questions. So, I mean, things such as maximum number of employees per shift, maximum number of employees working on a cook line. I can tell you, we don't have a lot of staff, but man, they are good. And I know some people in this room can attest to that. We bust our butts in there to make sure it's as good as possible with as few as we have. So things like that are very, very easy to just have a conversation about. So I'd like to get, some dates and times when we can just answer the questions without delay. Because they're very easily responded to.
So let's get those sign-offs from the wiring inspector, the final sign-off from the building commissioner.
I can actually email,
Sorry, Madam Chairman. Just we'll allow one person at a time to talk. That way, she gets it all and everybody
Fair
can
enough.
hear.
So if it's all that simple, let's get the sign-offs from those other departments, and then I can go do the pre-operational inspection. I can sign off on that. They can move forward, and then we'll do their ready-to-serve inspection.
And that's provided that you have a corrected and updated application. Correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
Would it be best for me to email in copies of the building permits with all the sign-offs?
Amanda can check. She has direct access.
I think just, sorry, the two in question, I believe it's, that I'm referring to is electrical and fire. Those were both finals, not roughs, but finals.
Can check
Okay.
in the system because there's a spot for rough inspections, there's a spot for final inspections.
We can also send a picture of both cards. When I spoke to Nelson with the new building permit, he said to simply, since everybody had been signing on the old permit, to continue with the signing off on the old permit for finals and staple the new.
You can't do that, that's illegal.
Yeah.
It has a different, contractor's
Contractor.
name on it, it's
Right.
illegal. And we sign off, all of our sign-offs are in the computer. So that's where we have to see. But no, that.
Maybe so, but I specifically asked the question because I didn't want to,
Oh, God, Nelson.
We can just call Neil and Paul and have them come back and sign the new
No,
permit. That's no problem.
The signing of the card doesn't affect us. Us is online. They have
Okay.
to sign off online, that's what everything
Okay.
goes by here.
Okay.
Just so you know, the card is for their visualization out there, which needs to be on site, but everything here is electronic.
Okay.
So. Now, I had cut you off before, I apologize. Did you have other questions?
no, it was really just, yeah, I'd like to, I can have the engineer,
We need a new picture, pretty much, to simplify it, right? We need a new picture with all the correct appliances in the correct spots.
Stamp plan,
It's a new
correct.
picture, yes. Okay.
so with the correction of the application, I believe what Patrick kept referencing with correspondence was what I had emailed Amanda with corrections to the initial application. In our meeting, we discussed that I could go in and amend the application. Well, when I went to do that on, I think our meeting was on Wednesday because everything was canceled on Tuesday for snow. And all the correspondence was done on Wednesday, and I emailed you basically a list of everything. And that is the list of correspondence that Patrick was referencing. So is that the best way to do that with you again?
Make the corrections.
Correct, okay, okay.
You're talking about these corrections on this set 22 pages.
Yes, so if I may,
And this was the addendum that you guys spoke about
yes.
last week?
Yep.
I don't know which one it corresponds to, but,
That goes,
There wasn't a lot there.
huh?
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of information there.
no, it was just the one
Okay.
addenda, if yes, describe how cross-contamination will be prevented between raw and cooked RTE foods. That was the response to that. So, if I may request, I only received one notification today that there was a discrepancy on the plan versus the application responses. I don't have a copy of Patrick's notes, and if I am going to make amendments, I'd like to make sure that I hit everything that he has question about.
I'll give him my notes.
Perfect.
Yeah. Actually, do you need your notes, Roberta?
I did write on mine.
Actually, I can make
It
a
was
copy of yours
Just because I
tomorrow.
didn't
Jen,
understand a lot of stuff.
Jen, I'll copy yours tomorrow and I'll give them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can give them to you.
I just gotta find what I do with it.
It's not just asterisks.
I have. Here we are.
Okay.
I don't really have a whole lot. They were just little stars for myself. All right.
So that, I think what I should, you and I, so, I think just to have everything legit, and I want to entertain, I would like to make a motion to.
Okay.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Let me just-
Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion that we require a completed application with the information that matches information and specifications shown on the engineered stamp plan, so that the application and the engineered stamp plan match. And that, for Whiskey Rocks, with the Stave and Still, and that all renovations be completed in a pre-opening operational, I think that's what you said.
Yep.
Inspection of the establishment with equipment in place and operation to determine if complies with the local and state food service code. Did you catch that?
I did catch that.
Okay, I make that motion.
Okay. That's a good motion. I second the motion.
Okay.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Okay, so that way you have it, we have it in the,
We'll get it.
a motion, it's legal, it's in writing
Okay.
of exactly what will be
Okay.
done.
So explain to me exactly what the pre-operational inspection is. It's a walkthrough visual inspection of the equipment and everything that we have in site.
If I'm correct, I'm
On
gonna.
site.
It's
Before
on the
it
next
can
to last
open.
page of their application.
In layman's terms, it's walking through and seeing what we have.
Make sure that everything is in working order, I would.
Okay.
That
The way
that
that
the
we have-
equipment that is specified on the plan is actually there,
Right,
that it's properly installed, that it works, that it functions.
that there's an air, I'm just
And it
gonna use
works.
like an air gap.
Yes.
Or not an air gap, you know, that's something that, you
Un-
know,
Is there 3 steam tables? Is there 2 steam tables? Is
Right.
there a gas water heater or electric water heater?
Right, right.
All of those things.
Okay. I understand that. There was an inspection done at Whiskey Rocks on December 30th.
was
Not for that, no. There was, I went to Whiskey Rocks on the 30th to see what the layout was. There was no food in the house, nothing was running. We talked about it on Thursday with them. That is not what was required to take over from a renovation. Just wanted to see what it looked like prior to the renovation. It was a nice clean restaurant, it was a nice clean kitchen, but there was nothing going on. So it's not worth going into and doing an inspection unless there's business going on.
And now we have the divider,
Well, and now we actually have a detailed application. We have the plan from the 23rd, from 23, not 21, and they don't jive. And this is government, and government has a process, and we need to follow the process for everybody. And it needs to be the same, and we are being very consistent. I'm being very consistent in my inspections.
so I apologize, I'm gonna ask a question. Does food need to be there or not yet?
Not for the pre-operational.
Not for
Nope. You
pre-operational.
would not want to bring it in and find out that you need to do
Okay.
something a week from now, or
That's
3
what I
days
just
from
wanted
now.
to
Okay.
clarify, and I don't know if you understood
Yes.
that or not, I just wanted to
And
clarify
as,
for myself.
and as far as operational inspections, you know that I've offered to go to people's places on Saturdays. I've
Anytime.
offered to go on Sundays. I've gone at night. I'll do anything I can
Yep.
for someone to be open and people to be able to go to work. So, and I get to take time off later on.
No, wire works out.
Is there anything else you had?
So I'm gonna, if I may, I'm gonna call the well, I'm not sure what Jay's specific job description is. Jay Gallant.
He is an engineer.
Engineer. I thought it was an engineer, not an architect. So I'm gonna have him draw up a new plan, and I'm gonna say it's a picture because it's a picture of all the little appliances and sinks and all that stuff, and we'll have that to you tomorrow. Corrected with every single piece. I mean, it's in the kitchen. There's actually 2 hot water heaters. I don't know how that ever got, but there's been 2 there since December of 2021, so I don't know how that got missed, but they're to the right of the hood. But
And it's just so we have accurate and complete information that.
I totally understand. I
Appreciate that.
I wish this had been brought up 2 years ago, then we probably wouldn't be facing that today. But 2 years ago, when we
Coulda,
had our
woulda, shoulda.
inspection from all the inspectors, every single one, everybody wrote off, signed, thank you, and we've been open for 2 years. So nothing changed from then to now, other than we put up a wall in our minds.
Correct.
Right, so-
Unfortunately, at our, shame on Dudley, we had an inspector who we were lucky if they were here 4 hours a week. And,
Wasn't it Camille back then,
yes,
in 2021?
yep, she was not full-time in our town.
Oh, I
No, she's split between Webster and Dudley.
Oh, she was minimal with Dudley and full-time in Webster, so, and it was unfortunate. I can't answer to that, I apologize.
Oh, no, I'm not looking for,
I mean, I can tell you, I don't know Camille personally, but she did everything from what I knew that she needed to. She walked through, she asked questions, we showed her everything. I mean, it's,
Yeah. Well, we're gonna move past her.
Yeah.
We're moving on, and, you know, we really want you guys to succeed. We really do.
We wanna
We want
succeed,
the
yeah.
businesses in this town to succeed, our restaurants to succeed. We really, really, really do, more than anything. That's why she's been on the board longer than me, but I've been on this board a while now, and we want nothing more for our restaurants to succeed. I don't wanna go out of town, I wanna stay here. We want you guys to do well. We want this done correctly, because the bottom line is we care about the people in town, right? And I know it's a pain in the neck for you guys. I understand for any restaurant that has issues, but we have to do it the correct way, and we're gonna move past the horrible mistakes that went down in town.
Correct.
And
And like I told you the other day, that,
That's
you
it.
know, we don't want you closed any longer than you have to be. And that's like he said, he will come out. He has gone out on
Saturday.
Sundays. He will come out and make an arrangement, because we want him to do that. We want him to be there for everyone. We wanted a full-time person so that we can have this flexibility. If he needs to be out here all day on a Saturday, then he can. He won't be here one other day in town, but it's okay. He can do that because he tells us everything that he's doing. So we do appreciate that, you know, and if you have any problems, unfortunately, the only place you can go if you have problems is to us.
Yep.
The Board of Health oversees him. Town administrator has nothing to do with the Board of Health. We are our own separate entity. We can govern ourselves, we can make our own rules. We are a very strong, by the state of Mass, a strong board. So we oversee him, he reports to the Board of Health. So if you're not getting anywhere, contact Amanda, tell them you wanna be on the agenda. You know, if it's something that can't wait, we throw together meetings, you know.
So what is the best way, once we get the architect to redo the drawings, what is the best way to schedule that pre-operational?
Once he has the updated application, corrected application, and the correct,
Documentation.
thank you.
picture.
He will review it, and then if everything's in order,
But it needs to go through the portal.
correct, right.
Well, I
We'll
can't,
send it to
I
you,
can't,
send it to
add- yeah, so
Amanda.
I'll go to Amanda.
Amanda
Okay.
will- Once he reviews it, then he will reach out that everything's been reviewed, and he'll set that up.
Okay.
Am I correct?
You're very correct.
Just making
But-
sure.
We do have other things to do.
Yes.
And I will be doing some of those things, so I do not want to be greeted in the lobby asking, you know, what time today it will be done.
I will make sure that you get
They
to it
can-
as soon as you can. Yes.
I think it was a very pleasant greeting. I was coming off the elevator and said good morning when you were speaking to the custodial staff. So if you don't want me to say good morning, I won't, but I will.
Honey,
All right.
Roberta, I apologize. It's been a rough couple of weeks. Nobody was anticipating it taking until,
January 23rd.
we thought we'd been open 11 days ago, based on the last 2 years. That's what we were basing it on, like, hey, we're gonna throw up a wall. We talked to everybody like, yeah, no problem, we'll have the wall up in less than a week.
We've never had any issues. We've never had any
So
run-ins
we
with the
were
Board of
caught off
Health.
guard.
with
If
the-
we had known by simply putting up a wall, this would have ensued, you know what we'd have done? One person could have sat on one side of the bar with the menu and the other one, and we would have changed the thing.
But I also
Piece
think,
of paper.
I also don't think it's just putting up a wall, right? There was also other things according to the plan that, you know, needed to be fixed, needed to be done. Because they don't look like they're here, but I understand that they are, and I don't want to keep rehashing it. But
No, I mean, Whiskey Rocks has been running by Whiskey Rocks.
I know, and again, going back to the mistakes that we've had, those were mistakes that probably should never have happened, right? So in a sense, you got a green card there, right? Sorry to say that, it's true, you did, because we had people who gave us 4 hours of an 8-hour workday, okay? If we got lucky, once a week.
We just want to make everybody happy so we can reopen.
and
That's
so
the
do
goal,
we.
right?
So we really want you guys to open so we all can take a turn on Bucky or whatever his name is, the bull, and it's gonna be fine.
Okay, I will get that updated, well, the information updated and the updated plan to Amanda.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so now we need to go to Yummy.
You want to go to
Yes.
Yummy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Invite them up now, or?
Sure.
You guys want to come up, or
You've
do you
seen the
want to just?
report? From today's inspection? I'm gonna grab a cup of water on the hallway.
Yeah. Pat?
Just. Just bear with us one moment here.
No, that part I know, but when you read that,
Oh, don't worry about it.
then I have to say, what?
Second that.
That's what I thought.
I was like, what the heck?
You did it right.
I thought I did, but I'm missing this one, so I'm like,
Yeah.
what? All right, Pat.
So next is the Yummy House. So when I onboarded, I started familiarizing myself with the permitting system and the inspection reports. And I noticed that there had been previous violations at a number of restaurants in town that didn't appear to have been addressed. And that put Yummy House on my radar screen because they had had several bad inspections from the regional inspector, never mind what happened prior years to that. So I did go to Yummy. I don't have that report in front of me on the tape, but I think you folks might. And the only reason I wound up there was I got a call from the deputy fire chief that he and the fire chief had received a complaint from someone that did some work there, that someone may be living on the premises. And they were concerned about that, and they wanted me to meet them there. So I met them there. We met David. David was very forthcoming. There was a problem at his house. He was staying in the back part of the building. They asked him how long it would be before he could get back in his house. He said, you know, one day. I felt that he was kind of being pressured looking at the fire chief, the deputy fire chief, and the health inspector. So I offered the end of the week, 5 days. Don't put yourself in a spot where you can't do it. And that was agreeable. But then we had to go in the kitchen. And half of the kitchen was relatively clean. But when you go back to the cooking line, there had been no attention to under the cooking line, and there was a big layer of grease and other material and food and things under the line and beside it. And I showed them with a flashlight all of that. And then I went to the sandwich unit that restaurants use on their line. And when we opened it up, it's full of shrimp and sprouts and noodles and broccoli and all the things they do. And it was 54 degrees. It's 13 degrees over the temperature, the maximum temperature that it can be. Very unsafe, very bad situation. So from there, I moved down the kitchen a little bit, and I asked them if they washed their hands. And they said yes, but the hand washing sink was full of cooking utensils. So there really was no way that they were going to be able to wash their hands. Then I happened to spot the mop sink, and every restaurant has to have it's like a 6-inch high square thing on the floor with its own drain. And it was full almost to the top with straws and fruit and napkins and trash that would come from the bar. And I operated a bar, and I pretty quickly deduced that that had become their dump sink for glasses. And I talked to them today on the re-inspection that their bartenders are being lazy. There's a barrel at the bar. They could take all of that trash out of a glass and throw it in the barrel, and then dispose of the water from the drink. So when I went today, well, from there I went to the walk-in cooler. One of the major complaints for all 3 failed inspections from the past was that food was improperly stored, food wasn't dated, and it wasn't identified as to what was in it. I opened the door, Jen has seen the pictures, and there was 3 tubs of chicken on the floor of the walk-in cooler with just sheet pans on them, not tight-fitting lids. And then 3 tubs on the floor with just sheet pans, and one was full of pork and one was full of chicken. No dates, no nothing. And then there was other things in the walk-in cooler that had no dates, no nothing. Things were open, things weren't covered. It was just everything that it had been for the other inspections. Then I went to the freezer, and there were open packages in the freezer that weren't sealed up, and things were frozen and all crystallized and just, ice balls. No dates. Things were taken out of the original packaging and no identification of what it was. So they buy shrimp, they stretch the shrimp out, they bread it, and maybe they freeze some of it, and maybe they refrigerate some of it. So some of it was in the freezer, but the covers aren't on tight. And in the refrigerator, it was in the refrigerator, and the covers aren't tight, but there was no dates. So I asked him what that was about, and David told me that they sell a lot of food, and they don't need to put dates on things if they sell it that quickly. The day you open the factory package, that's day one of the beginning of the 7 days that you can hold that food, and it has to go on the package. I went to the rice machines. The rice machines, the non-stick surface is coming off on the rice cookers. It just wasn't good. And I closed them down. And I gave them an order of what to do. And on the reinspection today, they had failed to put the proper dates on things and to identify. If you go to the third page of the report, where I gave them the corrective actions. So, again today, repeat violation of my inspection that closed them, but also the prior 2 or 3 inspections, improper dating of food. And I wasn't buying the dates on the food, so I asked to see the receipts of when that food was delivered. And that didn't jive. That didn't work out for me at all. Some of that food has gone beyond the 7 days. It's not in the original packages. I don't know when it was opened. That's an issue. They hadn't cleaned the top of the walk area, the cooking surfaces where it had food and grease and other things on them. So on the dating, I gave them 24 hours to fix it. And I explained to them that the next time that I came into the restaurant and something wasn't dated and labeled, whether it came in the day before, it was going in the trash. Because that is the food code. But I'm very reluctant to take a small business person and make them throw away $500 or $600 worth of food. But 3 strikes, you're out. So I ordered them clean the top of the walk area. I opened up the smoker. I hadn't looked at that on my original inspection. And when you walk into a restaurant like this and you see this many violations, your head kind of starts to spin, and you focus on the major violations. And as you're driving away, you're saying, oh, I should have written that down, and I should have written that down. And those popped up on this reinspection. So they have to clean the smoker. The dishwasher hasn't been cleaned in a long, and this is a mechanical dishwasher, not a 3-bay sink. It's a mechanical dishwasher. I gave them 72 hours to service the machine. The dishwasher's not operating at the proper temperature, so that's under the 72 hours. I ordered them to provide a written plan for how they're gonna handle their bar glasses and all of the trash that comes out of the bar. I also asked for a written plan for dating and identification of food stored in the freezer and walk-in. And the reason I want a written plan is so when they don't adhere to it, I can point to it and say, you didn't do it. Grease trap. No grease trap records available on when the grease trap was serviced. So I've given them 24 hours to come up with the grease trap records. Pest control contract, they say they have one. So I told them to provide it when I go back for the reopening inspection. I ordered them to stop using 2 rice cookers that are in bad shape and shouldn't be used. They have 3 on the premises. And I'm seeing here that I forgot to tell them about the floor vents. And you folks saw the dirt in the floor vents, the dust around the table, the straws down inside the vent. When we got by the function room,
Yeah.
Need to be clean.
Definitely, I saw that. Yeah.
you really need to take this serious, David. This is turning into a habitual thing. And my way of doing business is, I don't like to slow dance. I've got a lot going on. I need to bring everything to a resolution as quickly as I can. So I think I made it pretty clear today that once you reopen and you pass these inspections, if this happens again, my recommendation to the board will be to revoke your license. Not to just suspend you or close you for 5 days or 10 days. It would be to revoke your license. And you will have to come back and talk to this board about whether or not you're gonna stay in business there, because this has happened 4 times already. And they're the same violations. And on inspection today, there were 5 priority violations that are repeats from my last inspection. So I asked your manager was there. I asked your manager to talk to you and ask you to please take this serious. You have a good business there, you have a nice location. You have to do the minimum, but you have to do it to the maximum. And I look for the maximum of the minimum. It's only the minimum that's required. We don't have any special regulations in this town. It's only the minimum food code. The food code's online. It's only 67 pages. Read it and see how it applies to your business. But you have to do this.
Okay, I'm Jason, the bar manager there. I just want to say that, like, we're absolutely taking it serious. The past 5 days that we were closed, a lot of us there, we live paycheck to paycheck. So this is not fun for us. It's not a vacation for us. We're absolutely taking it serious. I'm sorry about the violations that seemed to come up again today. Was a big disappointment for us. We were I'm getting texts every day from all my employees some of them are looking for new jobs now. That makes it even more hard for us to reopen. So it's been hell. It's been absolute hell for us. We're not in any way downplaying it. You know, we've been here for a long time. We plan to be here for a long time. We love this town. All our kids go to school here. It's been a nightmare for us. All this stuff, I have to say, we've been scrubbing all areas of it, every square inch of the place for 5 days, nonstop, 7 of us. Every single day, we're just re-cleaning places, because we're just like, some of the stuff, maybe we just don't understand, like, what could be next. So today, that vent was new. At least to me, maybe it was in the previous inspection, but I didn't hear about the vent one earlier, so that was maybe one spot we didn't open the grate and vent.
But I would call your attention to the
Yes.
friolators that I told
Yes.
them to.
Yes,
The wheels are cased in grease. I showed it to them today. The wheels are cased in grease.
the wheels.
Yeah, the wheels on the bottoms of the friolators. The bottoms of the friolators are covered in grease. And when I did my first inspection, I asked them to pull all of the equipment away from the wall and clean behind the wall. I don't think they pulled all the equipment away from the wall, but they did a very good job of cleaning. Hold on, of cleaning behind the equipment. But there's still that much oil, and I can overlook that. That's not a priority item, but you missed a pound of grease on the bottom of every caster on those friolators. And more importantly, somebody played a game with the dates and the stuff in the refrigerator. A lot of that stuff in the refrigerator has big ice crystals on it. That's an indication that material thawed out and was frozen while it was moist. And that's no good. It wasn't covered properly and it was frozen again. And the dates don't jive. I asked to see the receipts of when the food was bought, and the food was purchased on January 8th. Today's January 23rd.
Speak, and then you can go next.
Right, and so I trust me, I understand completely. It's never easy for us to decide, or for Patrick to decide, to close a business. We worked hard with you several years ago when we had to shut you down for an extended period of time, and you did such a great job. And it was we felt accomplished. Were you on the board at the time? Okay, sorry. I felt accomplished. I felt like, oh, we worked with you, we did something great, we taught you. And, you know, it's not just the dirty vent. you know, that's something new, but that's not, you're not gonna get shut down for a dirty vent. But when Patrick showed me the pictures again, like I said to you, you right back to where you were when we shut you down the first time, several years ago. And I just, to me, it's so upsetting and it's heartbreaking because you've been in town forever. I frequent your establishment, you know that, I frequent it quite often. And we take pride in our restaurants in town. And the dirtiness bothers, you know, the things that he's talking about bother me, but what bothers me the most is the food storage and the not labeling and and I eat your food all the time, and that's concerning to me because I understand, you know, I've worked in restaurants. You can think it's not a big, you begin to think that it's not that big of a deal. We'll use it all. But all it takes is for one person to get sick to destroy your whole business. And we don't want that to happen. We want you to succeed. I don't want you closed any longer than you have to be, because I understand it. When you're in that business, you are paycheck to paycheck. There's no doubt. You're not doing it for the big bucks, you know, but we want Patrick to stay on top of you. And by no means do I want him to come back here and say, I'm recommending that you know,
Revoke?
Revoke, excuse me. I don't want him coming back and saying that he wants us to revoke your license. I don't want that. I never in my wildest dreams do I ever want to do that to a small business in town. We want our businesses to succeed. You know, last time we worked with you, we got you the right people to help with interpreters and the consultant and everything. And it's heartbreaking to me that we're back in this position, and I want to see you succeed. I want to see you. So, and I understand what he's saying. I apologize, I'm almost done.
No, it's okay.
This is important. These things are really important. He can't go back and find these things wrong again. And if you have a question about something, call Amanda in the Board of Health and sorry, go ahead.
I give everybody my town cell phone
Okay,
number.
perfect. I wasn't sure. I didn't want to.
I even answer my phone on the weekends. David has called me on my cell phone.
Okay, if you have a question and you don't quite know what he means, call him before he comes back, please. And do it the right way. Sorry, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay. You can finish.
That's
Yes, I'm
okay.
sorry. My hand just, okay. So this is not an excuse in any way. I just want to, because Patrick, I think you mentioned that David said that, well, we sell food fast, right? And that was the reason for the non-dating. It's absolutely, it is a violation. It's absolutely a violation. And even for our bar, we have to label our fruits and all that. Like I said, it's not an excuse, but all the food does, we've done a really good job, and I get it, we should be doing the dates. That'll actually make it easier for us. You know,
Because
right, so
what
we
if
do
there's-
that going forward.
Sorry to interrupt that. But what if there's an ice storm, okay? Just saying, we've had them happen before in town, and you're closed because you have no electricity for 5 days. Your food is toast,
Right,
okay? What if you're closed for 2 days? Now you don't know which is the new food, which is the old food. It needs to be dated. It's the state code. It just has to be done, because
right.
God
So,
forbid.
And the rule in the business is the sniff test doesn't work. It's if in doubt, throw it out.
right,
So, and people assume that when they come into a restaurant, the taxpayers in Dudley, that it's been inspected, that everything's good. That's what we're paying for a health inspector for. And as I explained in the meeting on Thursday, all of these things fall at my feet. I'm the health inspector. They're the board, but they're only here once a month. So I've been left with a challenge, and a lot more of a challenge than I expected. But I was a restaurateur. I don't want anybody to lose a day's pay, and I've said that to them many times. And there were times in my life that I worked paycheck by paycheck. And I had 4 kids when I was 23 and can remember having to borrow money for a gallon of milk. So I don't take this lightly. I feel bad. When I closed that other restaurant, the man's wife was there. I could see the pain in her eyes, and I took that home with me for the entire weekend, thinking about that. So this is not something that let's go close a restaurant down. It is absolutely not. It takes a lot for that to happen.
And if he doesn't do his job, he has to answer to us. And we're not the easiest.
And I might be
We want
driving
him
90
do
minutes
his
to work
job
somewhere
right.
else.
You know, I don't want anybody in Dudley getting sick. David wants to talk, sorry.
Go ahead, Dave.
Overall, right, Patrick, we got a good time today. You explain all the stuff and then you want me to do it. Definitely there's no excuse for anything. I just want you to know, tomorrow, the suburban, the dishwashing, that's the supply, it's the service for our, dishwashing, he's
And
coming. And also, you mentioned about the food in there, right? I told you we thought we are a lot. I do need you to come down, tomorrow, probably that's my weakness. I didn't call before, I don't care. I throw away all the stuff, if not the rule. Because right now, you want me to date all the stuff, back to, December stuff. It's not easy, That's why I say, oh, this is not match, it's not easy.
It doesn't match.
Yeah, all right, yeah.
So, and I don't even want to make people throw food away, because
You have to, right?
I know that you're
At this
working.
point, we're thinking, we're just like, what do we need, what is the checklist of things we need to do?
He
If
has-
it requires, like, throwing everything out in the freezer, in the fridge, and starting over new,
You have this?
Right there. Everything you need to do is
Right.
right there.
all right.
You have a copy of that, correct?
Yep.
Oh,
We
Patrick will email.
we emailed it to him.
Perfect.
Or maybe you'll email it tomorrow morning. I don't know. You scanned it in late this afternoon.
I think one of my questions the last time that we went through this was, yes, we had the checklist, and I think there was a little bit of a language barrier too, and there's a lot of people in your restaurant that take the lead, that, you said you didn't know the hood and this and this and that. And the last time, I think we heard a lot of the same things. You all worked together to do a lot of things, but we wanted to ensure that everything was getting done, and how could it get done properly? And I want to ask the same thing again, because clearly it worked, and that was a while ago, so I don't remember who the person was. But I think what I want to know is, could there be one person that can be the leader, so to speak, of what's going on, of this list? So you can say, all right, we are gonna date the food, and then you're gonna go back to you and say, okay, check. That way, you had 7 people kind of all scrubbing, but who follows up at the end to make sure it all got done, so it doesn't get missed again, so we don't have to have this discussion about maybe, I think, I don't remember then, but I remember asking that particular question, because I just want to make sure when there's a lot of people involved, how do you stay on track to make sure that you guys can get it all done? I don't know if that's, if that makes sense.
Yes, so.
Yeah.
May I ask, how many people are ServSafe certified and allergen trained?
No,
Just one, I think.
which one? Full serve? Yeah, he got it.
Yeah, safe
I
service,
got it.
we
And then
We have
Nate
that on
got
file
it.
for you.
all the
And
servers,
one,
yeah,
one chef got
So-
it. We got 4, I think.
who haven't come in for a while.
I'll look at
The
that.
servers have not come in for a while.
So,
No,
that's
I have the,
fine.
in the fire,
No, that's fine, I don't know, so that's why I wanted to ask. So everyone who's ServSafe should know these rules, because they've had to,
Well, they're actually the responsible party when they're on duty.
right, so, and, you're the manager, you said, right?
Yes.
So I'm just throwing stuff out there, like you said.
Yeah, I
So if
just
you're
wanna
in
make sure.
charge, right, let's say
Yes.
you're the one who's going to make sure that everybody does what they're supposed to. If you tell people, and if you're the manager, you make sure it's done, or you tell somebody, okay, when the food comes in, it has to be labeled. When you open it, it has to be labeled, it has to be, and then if they're not doing that,
Fire.
no,
That's
not
on, no,
fire.
that's on me,
Educate
that's on me. If that's not being done, that's on me, yes.
That's what I'm saying, is like, do you have that type of, it should be that, you're not doing it, okay, this is
Yeah.
why you need to do it, and if it's one of the ServSafe, well, then you have a bigger problem.
I don't
So-
know who the famous person was that said, trust but verify.
Correct, and that's what
And
I'm,
that's what needs to be happening.
like, you
And-
have to watch everything they do, unfortunately.
Yes. So, I just want to explain a little about like, so I deal with very little with the food because I'm mainly in the front.
Okay.
I remember when I just started managing probably about 7 years ago, like with people like that I have to give them things to do. But I still remember, at first, this is probably the first year we were open, and it was all new to us too. We were learning and going. The beers was not being cycled out correctly. So that was like, all it took was for us to learn that. It was a customer who said, wow, this beer tastes weird. And we looked at it, we're like, oh, it's not being done right. So now, when you say, do I give them a list of things to do? There is a list, but I actually have a trust issue with that. So I cycle it. I cycle that.
I
The
get
fruits,
that.
the fruits, my mother, she's very, very specific on saying 3 limes a day, 2 lemons a day, and that's it. Because that's our average of how much we go through each day, and we cycle the old one stays on top. And that's how we've been doing it.
Who's in charge of the kitchen? Yeah. So then you have to be,
Yeah, from now on, I want to add another guy. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, together.
you have to, because I just think working in past, where I've worked in things, you have to have somebody in charge of, who is the, like you said, the one who oversees, and if you don't trust, then you have to do it yourself, and, or you have to hire employees that you do trust, and that you still watch them till you make sure that they're, I understand that whole not trusting, but somebody has to oversee, and somebody has to make sure that at the end of every night, as much of a pain in the butt it is, everything should be cleaned. So that when you come in the next day, it's nice and shiny and new and looks all pretty, and you're ready to prep.
And they know that they're not going home until it's done.
Right.
And I just want to say one thing. On today's inspection, and on the prior inspection, the bar was in good order. The coolers were nice and clean, the sinks were nice and clean, all of that was in order, other than the dump situation.
Okay, so can
So
I
there really
speak on that after?
I'm just complimenting you that you operate the bar, and the bar was clean. So,
That's a
I
good
just
job.
want, I just want to speak on the mop sink area. So that's been so when you said that we dump our drinks into somewhere near the bar and then we tape it out to the back, it's actually, the bucket is already next to a big trash barrel, and that's where we dump it. And then once it's about halfway, because the higher it gets, it splashes everywhere. So halfway, dishwasher takes it, brings it to the mop bucket area, dumps it there, strains out. That gets taken, all those straws gets taken out to the dumpster, just like that.
when I did my inspection,
Yeah.
He showed me the picture, it
there was a
wasn't like.
Yes, so it's straining there,
So
and that's gonna be dumped out.
But when I did my inspection, there was a 5-gallon bucket on the floor inside the kitchen door full of mystery liquid. And there's the mop sink.
The strainer there, yeah, but
Yeah,
you know
so
what, so
that
this is
strains
no,
out, that
this is
gets
no
dumped out.
excuse for that, you know, so we gotta definitely want to change that, right? Yeah, that's
We just need a different
Yeah,
procedure to
yeah,
where we
yeah.
dump these drinks.
Right,
Right.
right, and put your trash in the trash before I know it's, but
Right.
you gotta,
Yeah, no, I know.
so
I love it.
since
And when
you
you
did
say
such a
we
great
can't
job
use
on the
it
bar,
because it's
that's
stuff
on
there.
you.
I'm just saying,
No, that's your fault. No,
yes.
no.
When
Throwing
we're
any
talking about,
stones.
we obviously can't use the mop sink if there's stuff in there, but obviously that gets emptied before we do use it. So,
But-
that's the procedure we do,
You can dump
obviously
the
we-
liquid in the mop sink,
Yeah.
but
We-
there
Just
has
not
to
the
be no
straws.
trash in it.
right.
Yeah.
Because, but what happens if you have someone who vomits in and you've got a mop sink filled with straws and stuff, and now you need your mop sink because someone's just thrown up on your restaurant?
Right,
God forbid,
right.
And I'm just saying because they drank too much, not because of the food. I'm not going that way. Just,
Too many Mai Tais.
that's,
Too
Do
many
we
minutes.
empty that out quicker or more often?
I guess just have the staff, the bartenders throw the straws and everything away first.
No straws, none
no
of that
straws and
trash.
paper in there. You gotta,
You're gonna provide a written plan for that anyways? That's
Yeah.
what's in the order, so we'll go through that.
Any other questions?
I don't. You understand that we're trying to help you, we're
Yes.
not against you.
Yes.
Please
That's why I'm
don't.
asking questions about,
and that's
should we empty it out quicker, or what's the solution? That's why I asked.
Again, we never want to shut anybody down, and
Right.
we want to, but we need you to do what we're asking, basically.
Right.
And like I said, if you have questions, call Patrick.
Call me. You folks have my phone. I answer it. I've always answered to David.
So as far as I know right now, the major issues is we gotta get the
got the report.
dishwasher stuff.
He's got the report.
Do you want to
My
give him,
copy.
yeah, I was gonna say, Amanda, do you want to give him my copy? Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, that way you'll have it
Yeah.
in front of you on paper.
And I forgot to write down the floor vents, but you know about it.
Yeah. That's why, you know, what I already asked a friend, because the problem, you know,
Yeah, no, I, believe me, I understand.
So just like I did with the last, I'm gonna put a motion in, just so that you know what we're doing, and we have it,
On the record.
thank you, I was trying to think of a word. So I make a motion to order for Yummy's Restaurants to remain closed in place until all priority violations have been corrected, and that all written plans required by the health agent during the visit today, 1/23/24, re-inspection have been submitted and approved by the agent, and when all conditions are met, the agent shall authorize the establishment to resume operations, excuse me, I make that motion.
I second that. Okay. I have a motion and a second, passes.
No.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, pass.
Now it passes.
All right.
So what that means is that we're giving him the ability to reopen you if you've met all of have corrected all of the violations.
And
Okay,
if it takes you till Saturday, I'll come on Saturday. If it takes you till Sunday, I'll come by on Sunday. I'll accommodate whatever you need to get it done, but we need to get it done, and done right. Because we're making other restaurants in town do it right, and everybody needs to do the same thing.
All right,
Okay.
thank you.
thanks, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
So I do need you tomorrow, you know, to let me know all the left food, you know, I got some time, you know, yeah, allow you, because I moved some, you know, from the freezer to the cooler already, yeah.
Yeah.
Give me a call.
They're not here.
Yep, give me a call.
All right. All right. So we're gonna move back to Firebrands.
Yes. Correct?
And you wanna make a motion?
Yes.
Yes.
I want to make a motion that Firebrands shall adhere to the orders of the agent. If all deadlines are not met, Firebrands owners be ordered to attend the February meeting of the Board of Health.
Okay. I have a what?
And the
Is there anything
agent
you
can
wanna
use
add?
his discretion going forward.
Do you have to add that?
No, you just have to second it.
I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes.
There you go.
Gadzooks. All right,
We
where
can
are
go
we
back up
now?
to the beginning, and then we'll go to the end.
So minutes for approval.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of November 14th, 2023 as written.
What?
I make a motion.
I have a motion.
No, you have to second it.
I second it. I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Passes. All right. Old business.
Okay, so I'm gonna take the lead on this one. Lot 9, Camelot Circle, remember they came in December, and they were asking if they could do a 2-bedroom, and we were advised no, but after researching, they can have a 2-bedroom deed restriction on their property. So, I make a motion to give that a 2-bedroom deed restriction on the property of 9 Camelot Circle.
That's that plan right there? Or is that something different?
This is.
All right. Well, I have a
This
motion.
is, yes, this is the Camelot Circle. Remember the lot size was small, and
I don't remember. Is that the-
no, it was, the agent was here. the real estate agent was here.
Remind me, what was the problem? Why did we say no? I don't
Because we
remember.
were told that they had to have a 30,000 square foot lot size.
And then when you looked into it?
It
okay.
could have a deed restriction.
Okay.
So that's why a 2-bedroom deed restriction would be put on due to the septic system.
Okay,
For-
and then we'll just reach out to them and tell them it's okay?
Yes, yep.
Okay.
So I make a
I'm-
motion.
I have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passes. All right,
So
and
Amanda will take care of that.
so now we have new business,
Correct.
11 New Boston Road.
Right. Okay, so we have 11 New Boston Road is a septic repair, and they're asking for local upgrade approval for the groundwater height from 4 feet to 2 feet. And we can authorize that. It is a repair, so we are gonna be making it better than what it is. Normally, with septics, the height is 4 feet above groundwater, but we can, on repairs, do 2 feet above groundwater. We
Re-
can,
Okay.
Variance, yes.
yes.
Repairs, meaning because their septic needs to be repaired?
Correct, their septic has failed.
So that's the only way it could go from the 4 to 2?
We can give the variance for
Okay,
that.
got it,
yes.
all right.
So, go ahead, Patrick.
So
Sorry.
I had actually just taken the Title V course, and I watched that meeting, and I heard that, and I was like, no, that's not true.
I know.
There's a two-family variance, but because something is a repair, you only can require them, or you can allow them to do it to the best that it can be. You can't say you can't live here anymore, you have to spend $100,000 on the septic system. It's to protect people from really being put out of their house. And you can give them whatever variance is required to not give them a hardship. So you are the approving authority.
Okay.
So I make a motion to grant a variance for local, let's see, from groundwater from 4 feet to 2 feet for
11,
11 New Boston Road.
all right. I have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passes. All right, so now we go to page 2.
Yes.
Would you like to do your agent updates, or would you like me to do my nurse stuff?
We'll give you a chance.
Give you a little break there,
Yeah.
Pat? All right. So I had received a document from, so there's a regional health nurse and a regional epidemiologist. So she had sent us an overview of all the infectious diseases from 2023. So I thought it would be nice for Amanda to print it out and share it. And it you know, just talks a lot of the different ones, you know, COVID-19, obviously that was the highest, 193, but babesiosis, Hep A, B, C, the flu, Lyme's disease, which when I was doing the public health piece, we always had quite a few Lyme diseases also. But I just figured this would be nice to share, just since I stepped out of the role and I really wasn't sure where we were for COVID or anything like that. So this is just kind of gives us a little bit of a background where we were. Look at January's really high to December kind of evens out, which makes a lot of sense. But I'm hoping that one day we'll have under 50 cases of COVID. Wouldn't that be wonderful?
Well, you may, because people aren't reporting it and people
I
aren't testing.
know, right? Look at 2022, 1,619. That's a lot. But anyway, so I just thought that was a little, little piece of info to share there.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Can I add something to that?
Yeah.
So while I was waiting to onboard, I had read your 2022 report. You would have just filed your 2023
Right.
annual report. And this town reported 8 foodborne illnesses confirmed from eating establishments in town. The town it came from hasn't had a reported confirmed foodborne illness in over 2 decades. And in other towns, don't know of many confirmed reported foodborne illnesses. That is a incredible number. And had they been reported to the Mass Department of Public Health, but because you didn't have an agent, they probably weren't, Food and Drug Administration would have sent the FBI out to investigate those eating establishments. That's how it works. If 2 or more people get sick on the same day at an establishment, it becomes a federal issue.
So where does, my gosh, I'm a little flustered. So who reports it?
Who would report it?
Yeah, so like.
I would tell Amanda, and Amanda would
Oh, okay,
report
so
it.
someone would call in and say, I ate at
No, they
Roberta's
reported, so
house.
this is what happened at Subway. Two people came to the counter and said, I ate at Subway and I think I got sick from Subway. Okay, how long ago? Well, it was a couple of days. So it's over right there, as far as being a foodborne illness and being confirmed, because it has to be within so many hours, there has to be a stool sample and all these other things to verify that. His nephew, he said he got sick, but they had two separate things to eat. One had turkey, one had meatballs. So, it still brought me out based on 8 foodborne illnesses in town and what I've been seeing. So, I went there and found they had bad temperatures.
Baby.
Again, sorry.
Yeah, they had
Oh.
bad temperatures.
Oh.
And I've ordered them to do something, and now I just need to confirm that it happened. But we've had an extraordinarily high number of confirmed foodborne illnesses in the town of Dudley.
This report here says 5 from 2023.
Oh, fabulous.
Okay, well,
So there was 3, maybe it's.
maybe it was
that
5.
13?
I remember
No, but
8.
I'm just saying, like,
could've been the year
if you
before.
said
It could've been the year
2022 was 8
Yeah.
and plus 5, is that 13? Well, let's,
Plus 5? Oh, so I haven't
8.
seen the 23, but so you had 5 and 23 as well?
yeah,
Yeah.
according to this document. And I guess, what's concerning to me.
2024, we're shooting for less.
What's concerning to me is nobody told us. So,
Right, because you didn't have an agent, you didn't really have anybody that was in tune with what you need to do and to report, and once again, as the agent, these things fall at my feet, I'm
Okay.
the responsible party. So, and that's why I'm being as diligent as I am, because I don't want the fickle finger of fate saying, well, you passed that place and I got sick. By spring, if you eat at a restaurant in the town of Dudley, you're eating in a very clean restaurant in the town of Dudley.
I don't
And-
want to play the devil's advocate, but I certainly will. But wouldn't that regional epidemiologist be responsible for reaching out to the Board of Health? Even though we didn't have a health agent?
Our
I
regional
just-
food inspector was
No?
out, our
I'm
regional
just,
food.
all right, I'm just like, I'm trying not to get too heated, but that's concerning.
Well, just so you know,
right?
our regional
Yeah.
food inspector inspected Yummy, found exactly the same violations I found, but didn't list any corrective actions. And I'm seeing that at other establishments in town. It just, the job's only as good as the person who does it. And, so now, you have a budget for a health agent, and now you're seeing what happened when you didn't have a health agent. And it needs to get fixed, and it needs to get fixed as quick as we can. But I just spent, probably 3 solid days on Whiskey Rocks. It's
It's a lot. Oh, my gosh.
And when we get to new business, we'll be,
All right, well.
Got it on here.
I guess I just wanted to understand what that meant, like who received the report, and I understand now. I thought it would go to Amanda, who would let us know. That's why I said to Jen, how come we didn't know?
Yeah.
I didn't realize it went to you. Now I understand.
well, it went to the agent.
Yeah,
Yes.
or whoever I understand. All right, lovely.
I mean, I'm still getting emails from state agencies that they think that the prior health agent still works here from Webster. It's never been changed. But we're getting there.
We are. All right, you wanna roll into yours?
Yeah, so, and I hate to keep saying while I was waiting to onboard, but it took 3 weeks, so.
It's awful.
I was just working and seeing what I was getting into. And I knew full well what I was getting into. And watching some of your meetings, there's been a lot of discussions, and I looked at social media a little bit. I try not to run my life off social media, but there's been a lot of comments about litter in town. And as you drove into Dudley, it was Litterville. Dollar General, Dippin' Donuts, this trash. So I explained to Jen that I was gonna take the soft approach, stop in, introduce myself, and ask them to pick up the litter. Dippin' Donuts hired a company 2 days later. Not only did they pick up the litter, but they fixed all the landscaping, and they did a really nice job of cleaning up. Dollar General, the manager did her best. I felt bad seeing her out there at 7:30 in the morning in the rain, picking up litter. So I waited a couple of days and went back, and it was twice as bad. So I wrote a nuisance order under chapter 111, 122, and I ordered Dollar General to provide a written plan to control litter at their store and to place 2 trash receptacles outside the door, not one. I don't care if people put their trash in it. If you're gonna be in the retail business, you gotta put a trash barrel up front. To fix their dumpsters, to pick up the litter in the parking lot, all of that. The litter in the parking lot all got picked up, 1 trash barrel got put up front, and I would say that that's the manager. She's doing her job. I've been in there 3 times. And she's very amenable, but she doesn't have the payroll to do what that store requires. Dollar General has not responded. So as soon as we get caught up with some of these things, someone from corporate, from Dollar General, is gonna come to our February meeting. And I'll bet you see that written plan come in well before that date. So I'm leaning on the corporate people to handle the problems. Then, Park and Shop had a litter problem. I went there 3 times, had problems 3 times. I issued a nuisance order, but I issued it to the corporation, and I asked for the corporation to respond to the Board of Health with a written plan to be approved to control their litter. They are controlling their litter, but we haven't gotten the written plan. I didn't know who owned Park and Shop, but I do now. And he's a first-class business operator. He's from Mendon. I know of him. And I think that getting that order terrified the people at the store, because he doesn't take any baloney from his help. He runs the best of the best places. Then, where else did I go? I went to, Cumberland Farms. Cumberland Farms got a nuisance order for litter. They've taken care of their problem. They're emptying their barrel 3 times a day now, and they're doing a litter patrol every day. And I drive by it a million times going to all these other places. They're all doing a good job. Some of our dumpster companies, their dumpsters are broken, the lids are broken, they're off. When I was at Park and Shop on Saturday, there was actually a buzzard in their dumpster picking trash out and throwing it on the ground. They have to close the covers.
Yeah.
But they're being responsive. Rubbish haulers. A lot of rubbish haulers have not renewed their permits. We have like 17 companies that haven't renewed permits. And we'll be working on that. So, and then we're starting to have housing complaints during the cold weather. And I would like to draft a couple of either policies or draft regulations for the Board of Health. One dealing with nuisance conditions, and one dealing with housing complaints. And my idea here is and changing the fees on food permits, where the taxpayers are subsidizing all of these inspections for these restaurants. They're not getting their money's worth. The restaurants are getting a free ride. There needs to be a fee based on one inspection, and there needs to be another fee if there's a violation, and the fee needs to go up for each returning inspection. Our licenses for retail food and other things are ridiculously low. They need to increase, and I'd like to put that on the agenda in February. And I had a knockdown, drag-out fight with a landowner on Friday about a 3-decker that didn't have any heat. And it only had 1 furnace, and he was telling the residents that they all needed to share the oil tank. Well, that's illegal. And he's also under a 2021 order from the board to respond to some illegal basement apartment that only has 5-foot ceilings. And he hasn't been in. So I was a stormwater and MS4 agent in the other town that I worked at. And under stormwater, when someone builds a subdivision and there's stormwater controls in a stormwater basin, our regulation said that the developer had to put together a maintenance plan for those stormwater controls in their basins, and they had to pay the money to the town for 20 years worth of maintenance. And it goes on deposit under a 53G account. So in the event something needs to be fixed or something goes bad, the developer hasn't gone bankrupt, or the developer's not around and says, I don't have any money, we have legal access to the money in the 53G account, and we can take the action to fix it. Because right now, under the law, if we condemn a house or we make somebody do something, the town of Dudley picks up that bill, not the homeowner. So my thought was to have non-owner occupied apartment rentals register with the Board of Health, basically have a permit, and put up a maintenance fee as a 53G. So when someone calls and says, I don't have any heat, my landlord pays for the heat, we can call them and say, like I did Friday, I want oil in that tank in an hour. And if they don't, you call the oil company that we have a contract with and say, we want you to go put 100 gallons of oil in, and it gets paid out of 53G. And every time that the landlord goes to rent that apartment, he has to notify the Board of Health. And he has to get an occupancy permit and have an inspection and pay a fee. And that will bring housing complaints to a pretty quick grind, once they know that we have the resources to use their money, not the taxpayers' money. That's how you solve a problem.
Okay.
Yes. So, by the February meeting, I will put together a draft regulation for that, and some proposed pricing, and something for our food and retail permits. Because $100, if you look at what Amanda did, you know, on all of that, plus the indirect costs of the treasurer and all the other departments are signing off, this is a losing operation at $100 or $200. We're way low. And I know that the last part-time agent just changed your prices, and they must have been $25 or something, because
Yeah, it was,
$100 doesn't cover it.
no, and that was one of my questions I was gonna ask about reinspection fees, you know, because, and you mentioned the going up, that's because, you know, you're going out again and again and again.
And we have a full-time agent with a full-time budget, and we need to justify that cost, that the taxpayers aren't subsidizing violations by people doing business in their town. The business owners should be paying that, not the taxpayers. And
I agree.
May I ask Amanda a question? So, everything's online, but if they don't do it online, you have to enter it all. I know there was talk, has the town decided if they are charging people? Because I know Webster does that.
They have not made that decision.
Okay, just was curious because,
And like a building permit after the fact is double.
yes,
Well, a food license after the fact, or other things, should be double.
I,
After the fact, meaning the deadline
Past
for
the
when?
deadline.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have a number of places that haven't even paid. Walgreens is one of them, and everybody says they're habitual. It's not right.
January 1st, all the food permits renew.
Every year. Hasn't changed since
No.
1850. So they know, but they know that you haven't had an agent, and they know there's been no one to follow up on it. I was a finance committee member for 3 years, and I wanted value for the taxpayers. I didn't want the town to pay for things that businesses should be paying for. And you have the right to do it as the Board of Health. Like sending in bad information for an application online. If we reject it and have to review it again, it should
Costs
be another
money again.
$100.
Right, it should be.
And they'll stop sending in documents that aren't the right documents just to satisfy a piece of paper. I have people writing it and it says required, and I get a white piece that says not applicable. But it is. And if you know it gets kicked back, then it's gonna cost you another $100.
They're not gonna do it.
They're gonna do it, and it's gonna take time to train them. But it will improve the financial situation for the Board of Health.
So you'll bring that to February?
I will bring that to the February meeting if you folks wanna do that.
Calendar, February 20th, but I think we need Heather here if we wanna change the date. I will leave it alone for now. It's fine. All right. Anything else? This was a long meeting.
What's next?
I think that was it. Did we do other business?
How about member issues?
Where am I? Oh, geez, member issues discussion.
I don't have any issues, but I would
Do you
like
have
to
an
say
issue with
something.
me?
No. I just
record.
wanna, I got many issues with you, but we won't go there. I just wanna say
Cut.
thank you to Pat for everything that you're doing for the town, everything you did before you actually got your physical and got here. And the fact that you're trying to better the town and improve revenues that don't affect taxpayers.
It's important.
And that's a wonderful thing, and we warned you. We knew there were places in town that needed work.
When I saw the emails, I said, we didn't think it was this bad. And I have a saying, I've been working like a pony at a birthday party.
Absolutely, and I appreciate everything.
I don't
and
mind.
Thank you.
I don't mind. I'm like a border collie. I need to stay business. I'm not a young guy that goes out drinking and partying and doesn't want to go to work. I can't beat Amanda to work, but,
Can't beat me.
no, I'm never gonna beat you to work.
No, I don't think I would ever beat Jen either.
But I do appreciate it,
Wow.
and I appreciate all the time and effort you're putting into everything. And your reputation is, restaurants are starting to know about him, and, you know,
And they need to,
Yes.
and they need to know that I show up at Sunday morning and Sunday night,
Right.
and they don't expect it. I'm just sitting home, getting ready to eat a bag of potato chips. I might as well go take a ride and see who lied to me today. It happened to me, so not to keep you here, but, Patriot. I did an inspection at Patriot Fuels. Beautiful store. Nice and clean, well organized, I mean, really, really nice. But then I stumble across their little coffee counter, and there's one sink for the coffee pot to be washed out. Needs to be a 3-bay sink. And I don't know how they got open, how that got by somebody on that pre-opening inspection. And then next to that is a refrigerator for creamer, that people are grabbing a quart of cream and taking the knob off it. But it was 54 degrees. And I said, look, you can't use that. And by the way, you need a 3-bay sink. And while I was there, a customer that had pumped gas came in and washed his hands in what was supposed to
In
be
that sink.
their sink. But he didn't know they had a bathroom right around the corner, which was equally clean as the store. So I told him, I'll give you 30 days to fix that. And this is just like my Cumberland Farm story. All I wanted was a 3-bay sink and a Cushnet. It took him 4 months. He told me that they had lots of stores without 3-bay sinks, and I said, not in a Cushnet. And when I heard his name here, I said, tell Frank to come on the phone. It's me, and it's not gonna take as long as a Cushnet. And they were done in a couple of days, and they did it right. So Saturday, I went back to Patriot, and there's another person working there, and another pint of cream in the 54-degree refrigerator, and I said, look, you have to stop. I went there Sunday, still using the refrigerator. I said, okay, I've been here 3 times, now you can't sell coffee. You're done selling coffee until you put in the 3-bay sink, fix the refrigerator, and do all of those things. Oh, but most people don't want cream in their coffee. You're done. That's it. I've been here 3 times, that's that. And that's what it's gonna take to show up at these places. So, and I'm hoping the guy from Subway watches our meetings and knows that I've already caught him 3 times, leaving that girl there alone. And I think another thing we need is a local regulation that everybody's a food service manager on one shift. And all of their help is allergen awareness trained, everybody. It's only a $10 video. All you have to do is watch a video for 25 minutes. I'm a ServSafe testing proctor. I've given people hundreds of tests. And I've made the offer that if we wanted to do it, we could take a room here for an hour, have everybody come in, watch it, pay the $10 to ServSafe, and everybody's allergen awareness.
Right, that's a good idea.
Yeah, it is.
Because the only person in some of these places is the cook, but he's not on the floor. And there's a process that if you go in and say, I'm allergic to onions, the manager should come over and take your order. And the manager should go in the kitchen and make sure that your order's prepared properly. Not just some girl who, hey, they're allergic to onions. Yeah.
Right,
and away it goes.
cross-contamination.
So, those are the things I'd like to move along, and it's gonna make my job easier, and it will make things better in town.
Thank you. Not tired yet.
If there's nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion approved, passes. All right, this meeting has come to end at, oh my God, 8:16.
Wow.